Paul Montes, a trailblazer in the music industry who has turned passion and perseverance into a remarkable career. From his roots in Los Angeles and El Paso to becoming head of operations at Dr. Dre's Aftermath Entertainment, Paul has worked behind the scenes on some of the industry's most iconic projects. With a unique blend of technical expertise and creative vision, he's not just shaping sound, but also mentoring the next generation of creators. His journey is about more than success. It's about legacy, resilience, and the transformative power of music. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it. It's always good to connect with people like yourself and just lend whatever bits of advice were passed on to me. So thank you.
You know, you got my attention because you're from Texas. So we're going to have to jump straight into that. Cultural blend, Texas, Mexico. How does that shape your personality, outlook on life?
Oh man, it's it's interesting as I get older, like you start to recognize like your background and where your roots come from. And then of course, I have kids, so as you start to see them develop and grow, you start to really just you really attach to it a lot more. So it's it's something that's obviously the cornerstone of who I am, and I mean, we could do a deep dive on just like all the cultural significance and all of those things, but
I was like, is Tejano music growing on you? Are you still eating tamales right now?
oh, for sure. We did. Yeah. Recently. Hell yeah. Absolutely. No, man, it's a blessing. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta, I really, really appreciate and just, really value the opportunity and the privilege of having that perspective and, amazing, community and cultural aspect that I learn from daily still, and it's shaped, without a doubt who I am and how do I try to approach things. So just take whatever positive value I can and try to represent that to the best of my ability. So yeah, very important.
And what about like actual influence of Mexico? Like I visited once as a kid, but like were you back and forth like most people from the border? I know like I was literally born in the Rio Grande Valley, so
Oh,
border
nice.
town, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's where my formative years were spent over in El Paso, right there on the border. And my father is originally from Mexico, Juarez, Mexico, right across the border. My mom
Damn.
being from out here in California, so I was born out here, but in my younger years, we for whatever reason traded the beach for the desert out there to be closer to my dad's family, which is just how things shook out. But yeah, we were back and forth all the time. I remember going to my abuela's house, and she was
Man, is Juarez that dangerous? You're making me nervous.
it's gotten more so now. Obviously, like things have escalated, but I mean, growing up over there, you would hear little bits and pieces about what was going on, but definitely
Well,
taking.
what was going on?
I mean, just in terms of like obviously being a big entry point into the U.S., like there's a lot of that. There's obviously a lot of the trade in the currency that happens, and illegal activities and cartel stuff,
You'd
which
hear stories
of
basically.
course, yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? And thankfully, in my early days of my younger years, we would go over there, and
But how'd you avoid all that, you know?
we were good. I mean, we only really went to my grandmother's house, if anything, to see some family. Like we weren't out there and kind of like all over the place, and just a lot of the stuff at the time when I was younger would happen like in the nightclubs, like in the night scene, in the where kind of people of that ilk would congregate and gather. Like a lot of they have a heavily influence in like nightlife, and there's cartel stuff, and they own clubs and they own all that kind of thing. We were never over there, thankfully enough. I think there might have been once or twice when I was younger. You might have gone in my later,
We didn't know.
yeah, we really didn't pay attention to it, and thankfully, like it never happened in a personal perspective. But I do have family members and cousins and extended family over there that I remember stories about crooked cops, pulling you over just to like get you had to bust them down a little bit of money, or now that I think about it, I have a cousin who's a musician who used to play drums in like live bands in clubs, and I think I remember one time where there was a drive-by or something like that kind of happened. So
Wow.
it was popping off over there, thankfully, in my time going back and forth. And my mom was, we used to go over, my mom's a very frugal lady, God rest her soul. and we would go over there and get like dental work done and medicine, and just kind of doing that thing. So real big part of growing up, and just when you drive down the 10 freeway, going by the university over there, it's right there. You can see right over the dried out Rio Grande, and you can see it's literally night and day. You got people up on the mountain in smaller like shack type communities, and then you have this prestigious university. Literally, you look one way, it's the university. You look to the right, it's you know poverty stricken over there, for lack of a better explanation. So you got a lot of everything. If you really kind of just looked around and had the awareness for it, it's like you really can kind of see night and day. Like, this is how people live here, this is how we live here. And as you get older, it obviously imprints on you a lot more. At the time when you're younger, it's just, oh, we're going back and forth. It's not, you don't think about it as much.
Dude, I was just thinking about how people on the internet, well, maybe this is generational, but we shame the younger generation about
Oh yeah.
things way differently though. Like now it'll be like, yo, how are you at the club, and you're so young and you're so late. And the other day I was thinking, dude, we used to have like a teen night for like
Yeah,
teenagers to go to the club for specific,
sure.
and that doesn't even compare. But it's just like, we shame them for things that like were way worse in our time, or
Yeah.
that we got away with things.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy how that evolves, and it does nothing will ever compare to how bad it really was or is.
Yeah, absolutely. Unless you're like that, God forbid you're in that close of a proximity to it. Hopefully it's not. You don't get to experience it like that. And thankfully that was the case. God bless my mom for keeping an eye out for
And
us.
not to be too detailed, but I
Yeah.
also work in asset protection,
Oh
and
man.
one of the trainings and stuff is like VR scenarios, and
Wow.
that stuff really puts you in like those scary ass
Yeah.
situations where you're like, yo, I'm not
Wow.
anticipating my heart to be pumping like this. It's
Right.
like it's not even real,
Man.
but that situation could happen.
Right.
It's just it's interesting though how technology's evolved, that like, hey, we can
Oh
actually
man.
simulate the scenario.
Yeah.
Another example though that I have is I did a community police class, and they when they put you with guns and like to simulate reaction time
Yeah.
for police, dude, when you realize they have 3 or 4 seconds to make a split decision, you're like, okay, I think the whole point of this class I was in, just to be able to empathize with them, right? Because
Right.
we only see the 1% on the television that's blown up,
Yeah.
and it makes them all look bad around the entire nation,
Sure.
not realizing, damn, they really have a few seconds to react to this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Definitely.
Do you have any thoughts on like just police work and like community service, things like that?
Sure. No, I mean, just you pretty much nailed it right there. Is like, I think the thing about it right now, especially like you said, with the time that we're in, everybody's just reactionary. It's like you see a 15-second video of like a snippet of something that happened, and then the end result or whatever the case is, right? And a lot of times, we got to slow down and just zoom out and like think for a second. Well, what are the circumstances, if and if you can, like, put yourself in that person's shoes for like a split second. Granted, they might have made a really shitty decision at the moment, but it's very
It's
easy
it's
to.
still hard to know how
Yeah,
we would react, right?
absolutely.
Like
There's no way
we
to
can
know.
only say we would do that.
Exactly. There's no way to know what you would do. Like yeah, everybody is has hindsight. When they're watching the video, like, well, I would have done this, and it's like, yeah, but would you have? Like, those are kind of the opinions. Like, you can hold on to. Like, we don't really need to know what so and so on the couch would have done in that scenario. So yeah,
I feel that.
you
And
gotta
at the end of
be open to
at,
empathizing, even just the slightest bit, even though it might be a shitty situation. Like, just think for a split second, like it's different.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say at the end of the day, like I don't think it's worth getting rid of them. Like that can't be the solution to anything. Even I hold grudges or gripes against
Mm,
them, for the past treatment of my own
sure,
personal issues. But I'm not gonna say, yo, I can't have people not protecting the society
sure.
community. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's got to be solutions that are not so just cut and dry for stuff, like anything. But um, yeah, it's there's always more complexity to things than we always perceive, or we're dealing with, because again, we see things in little chunks of information. Yeah, it's
Hell yeah.
hard to tell.
glad to agree on that one. Can you share a defining childhood moment that sparked your love for music or technology?
Yeah. I was really fortunate that when I was younger, my dad, when he was around, I won't dive into that, you know what I mean? But um, we had a very, very heavy influence of music around the house. You know, he had a really huge record collection. We always had a record player and a stereo system at home, you know, throughout the course of my life. That's one of the real vivid memories that I have. And even still, there was in his earlier days, my dad and his other brothers, they owned a video shop in Mexico, like, you know, way before I was born. And through whatever the results were that were, we always had a bunch of movies just lying around my house
Yeah.
as well. So we had VCRs, we had VHS tapes, because yes, I'm that old.
These
And
weren't the bootlegs, were they? Were they the burned DVDs or
there's a
what?
no, this was we're talking VHS tapes, man. Like
Damn.
for people on here that it's like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, let's go. We're going
I'm
back,
sorry.
back.
Yeah, we're going super back. I apologize.
I had
Um,
VHS. I had VHS.
right. So we just had movies all around the crib. We had music and records always around, and you know, my mom loved to dance and listen to music, so we also always had music going on. And you know, really like in my teenage kind of middle school, you know, junior high, high school years, I remember hearing more and more music, obviously on the radio. We started recording to cassette tapes, songs that would come out on the radio. I remember
Just
that.
name some bands. Just go out loud. What are we
Oh,
hearing right
dude.
now?
Listening to a lot of Motown stuff. You know, I was very fortunate, like obviously Stevie Wonder and Marvin Gaye and Smokey Robinson and James Brown. Um, but along with like you know, rock music like Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin, just a lot of stuff. Even then,
Were
even influences like Ralphie Pagan, for my Latino people that know who that is. The Midnighter, like a lot of oldies, soul music. And then as I got older, I have an older brother, so like we ventured into rap music. I ventured into rap music through him, but yeah, all the original stuff was like oldies. My
how
dad.
much of it
Go ahead.
what was like actual self discovering it yourself, or like
Oh
actual
man.
being educated from your parents, or you know?
Really, you know, a lot of it was self-discovery in those initial phases because again, we had a bunch of records around, and I have an older brother, so a lot of times, like my brother was picking out stuff. Like you know, he was kind of a turntablism was happening around that time when he was a teenager. So I heard him, you know, trying to scratch on the record player, even though that we didn't have a technique or anything. But he was trying
Yeah,
to do that.
I'm just like, what are you using? What kind of mixers that? I don't even
Yeah,
know.
it's an old like Serwin Vega
Oh
brand.
shit.
Yeah, this is some old school shit. JBL, like old school speakers, and maybe golly, I can't even remember what the turn. It might have been a Technics turntable, but not like your 1200 where you would
Sick.
like, you know,
So dope. That's
DJ Limit
funny.
scratching on. It was just like your standard basic ass turntable. Um, things of that nature, and definitely a lot of what he was playing would imprint on me. My dad was kind of like he kind of had like this I guess kind of lofty dream to be a DJ. So we would wake up on Sundays, and when he was around, we would pack up this busted old Dodge Ram van that we had and sell stuff at the swap meet. And all day long, we would lay out a bunch of just extra stuff. It would get sold, and my dad would play live music on the records, and then people would come up to him and ask him like, "Hey, what's that record?" Or like, "Hey, what's that record?" And or what's that song? And he would little by little, like every time we would go back every other weekend or whatever, he would play something new, and he was like the flea market DJ. It was the, you know, one of
So
those random kind of things that would just happen.
that's
Of course,
dope.
I
So
hated it
dope.
because
But
we
that's
had to wake
dope.
5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, load this big ass van full of stuff. We had to load it full of, you know, a tarp and these old ass lead
Bro,
pipes.
bro said
I hated
lofty
it,
dream. I'm stuck on that
dude.
one. You said lofty dream.
Really. You know what I mean? Like if he was around in this
Yo.
time when we had like proper setups and you know he could run playlists off of whatever, he would have killed it. But um yeah, these are
But how old are you? Give me that. Just let
dude.
me understand that.
Oh man, I have to be, I want to say maybe 8 or 9. I was
Whoa.
super young. Yeah, because my brother was a teenager.
But that's
Uh,
pivotal. That's like pivotal years, you know what I mean?
100%.
That's why you remember that shit and
It is.
you had a little spite for it, huh?
A little bit just because of like that part. Like I hated getting up. I hated just getting up and loading it and doing all that shit. It was like on the weekend, like I'm trying to chill.
But
Um,
what'd you learn from it though? Give me a lesson from it.
oh man, I learned really just like you know, so one of the things I will give my dad is like he had the hustle in him to do that on a consistent basis. Whether, you know, I have no idea like how much money it made him every weekend. I had no idea about any of that, but it was a consistent thing. Like we knew um we were getting our asses up. We were going to the swap meet and we were
Hell
going to be
yeah.
there all day until the sun came down and then we would tear it all down and go back home. But you know, it was fun being there. It was just like, you know, the getting up and the tearing down was like kind of the pain in the ass. But I really just learned a lot about how music really affected the people that were there. Me and my brother would goof off and try to break dance, and just all these things would happen during that space of time. So a lot of that, I believe, is what like the music and the response from the people that were just passing by trying to buy God knows whatever from the vendors around, um, and how it would spark conversations, or you know, it would just it was the background soundtrack to life at the time. Um, and that I think is the biggest thing, is like everything about music for me that I really love about it is how it really, it's a time capsule for those parts of your life that are pivotal, or that really just remain with you for the longest time, because obviously I still remember it, right? And I have a terrible memory, so
Yeah, yeah.
it must have done
So
something.
where's the power coming from? Like, is he plugging into the inside of the store?
Oh, they had light poles like every few like stalls, kind of, and
Sick.
you would pay to use the outlet and pull power off of the thing, and
Yeah.
a gang of power strips and a bunch of shit plugged in, and I don't know how we didn't start fighting,
What?
but no, this is really kind of like how the initial parts of and then eventually, like once we had cassette tapes and all these people that would come by, it's like he was making people mixtapes of like oldies music. I don't even remember how he did it, to be quite honest with you, but he would figure out at a certain point how to um, pretty much put playlists together and record them to a cassette tape, and then he was selling cassette tapes at the swap meet. And this is obviously before piracy and cracking down on that was a thing. Like he was early to it, real early. Um, so I remember a lot
Hell
of
yeah.
that. People would come to the swap meet just to talk to him because they were looking for like a specific record to see if he could find it. And yeah, it
Bro,
was
he
a
but
lot
you
of that.
gotta I think I'm giving him props in my head because he was like, dude, if I'm gonna feed him, I'm gonna innovate a job that doesn't even exist.
It was wild. I think about it now, and it's just like I say, like if he, you know, was around for like the Shopify days, or the kind of where we exist at now, like yeah, maybe he could have done pretty good.
Bro, he could for sure though, because he did what he loved and found a way to make money, bro. So you
It's
kind
very
of
true.
you lived that out too. So that's dope.
Very true.
Dope
No,
as
very
fuck.
true. Yeah, it's crazy thinking about it now, but yeah,
Transitioning to your mom, how does a single
sure.
mother influence your work ethic, and what is,
Oh
those
man.
lessons? How do they carry today?
That's everything. You know what I mean? Not to be too somber about it, but I recently just lost my mother. Um,
Damn, dude.
and yeah, I everything good and everything that was of positive value, even those ass whippings from time to time, all of those really, um, yeah, is really what shaped me into the person that I believe myself to be, you know, and strive to be on a consistent basis. Um, all came from her, you know. Again, like my dad, as much as he was kind of in and around with in my earlier years, at a certain point, you know, he was gone, and it really was just my mom making sure that me and my older brother were sustained. And she really, I learned everything about giving all of who you are, you know, love, hard work, and just dedication to yeah, to just building some humans up that um she did even more so than herself, like is you know, it's the biggest thing. I really can't think of anything greater, especially having kids. that I can do my best to pass on to them. I really got it all from her, and I'm continuing to do my best to just honor that um, as much as I can. You know, yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, dude, because I always think about how, like, when your parents would tell you stories, nothing that you've lived through really ever compares to,
yeah,
like, my mom used to walk miles for
right,
stories and things like
yeah,
that. And you're like, "God, thanks for putting my life in perspective." Like, just always,
yeah,
always have to be grateful because they
yeah,
worked their ass off to
yeah.
get us to where we are now. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, no, without a doubt. I mean, if it wasn't, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have made it to audio school. Obviously, I. Yeah, anything that I'm doing currently uh, begins with her, and then yeah, it's just is
To
so grateful.
pivoting into audio school here, just
Yeah.
dude, okay, reading music is really hard. So, how in the hell did you get through audio school?
Oh my God, man! By sheer luck, and um, it's interesting. Like before I went to audio school, I had looked at a few. I really stumbled into audio engineering in general. In growing up in West Texas and post high school, like no direction, no idea. I just knew if I was going to stay at home and live with my mom, in order to not pay rent, I had to go to school. So it's like, okay, cool. I'll enroll at the community college, and
And no jobs really, bro. You're taking a risk there, you know? It's not like it's a huge
absolutely.
flooded
Oh
market or
no,
anything.
not at all. No, I've definitely not at that time. So
Still not really.
yeah, no, that's very true. Um, Yeah, definitely pushed me. I'm sorry. Again, I stumbled onto audio engineering in a very pivotal time in my life. Was going through a lot of stuff just personally in my early 20s is when that happened. Just didn't really know what I was going to do, and just by again sheer luck going into a guitar center one time, I stumbled across the term audio engineer from somebody's business card, um, and yeah, that's what led me to researching audio school. And I had considered, LA Recording School and the Full Sails of the world.
What
And
was it though? What was it
yeah,
like the idea that you can make money with music? Like what was
not.
what got you
I
going?
wish, if I had thought about it at that point, I probably wouldn't have done it. Um,
True.
but really, no. The short story is, again, I went to Guitar Center like anybody else. I didn't have any money to buy anything. I just went to look at shit. Um, and on the way out, on the cork board, people can leave their business cards or whatever. Like there was just a generic business card that just said audio engineer. It had the guy's name,
Hmm.
information, whatever, and it was like, what the hell's an audio engineer? I've never heard of that. Let me take this dude's business card. Um, and ended up doing some research and sent the guy a cold email, just like, "Hey, I got your business card. I was just curious, like, what is this? How do you do this?" I did a little bit of research on the internet, I think that we had at the time, and saw that an audio engineer was a guy in the studio pushing buttons, kind of behind the scenes. And I've always been just a computer geek. I bugged my mom to get me an old school compact Presario. Yeah, this is gonna be some old shit
Nice.
right here, but bugged her to get me
So
from Circuit City back in the day, and like just dived into it and found out that an audio engineer like doesn't necessarily have to be an artist, so you don't have to be in front of the mic or anything, and is also a way to still be attached to the music without having to actually create it like specifically. You're still part of the process, but it's the technical aspect of it. So
so how much do you know right here at this point? Like do you know how to use a program yet, you know?
you know what's funny? Thinking about it now, the most that I knew is I knew how to. There was an audio application on Windows back in the day called Gold Wave. This is like your Audacity nowadays, right? Basic ass audio editor, and I didn't know anything really about the actual aspects of what I was doing. But in high school, I knew that I could rip a CD. I knew I could pull the audio off of it, and what me and one of my buddies from high school on the basketball team did is we cut and pieced a bunch of songs that we ripped off CDs to make a pregame warm-up tape, so to speak, right? Um, So we literally cut pieces of, DMX CDs and Wu-Tang and it was whatever we're listening to that was rap. Uh, we had to edit out the cuss words because we were listening to obviously the, not the clean versions of stuff, and piecing together in Goldwave this audio editor, just messing around with it and learning um, how to piece together one long stream of audio that I would burn to a CD, and then we would play it before pregame when we were warming up and doing layups or whatever the hell. So um, didn't really have like formal knowledge of how to do that. I just kind of messed around with computers when I was younger, and I was able to kind of figure things out fairly easily. Thankfully, and those were the first kind of steps into, and again, this is before the whole stumbling across audio engineering thing. I wasn't even there yet. This is in high school. I know I love music. I know I love how music is made. I'm trying to figure out those things.
Remember Winamp? Do you remember Winamp?
I had Winamp. That's how we used to rip CDs, was Winamp. We used to rip CDs with Winamp, and then I would dump it into GoWave and just mess around with it and ruin it. And then at some point in time, I think when my dad came back around once, we used to go to the pawn shop a lot. And I remember a copy of Sony Acid Pro is what the name of the DAW was at the time. And all I knew was that it was a music creation program. I didn't know how the hell to use it. I just bugged him enough, and he got it for me once. And I stumbled across trying to use that. I would literally rip a snare from a Tupac album and a kick from God knows what other album, and I would literally draw these in with a pencil tool in Sony Acid Pro to try to make beats. And they were the most god awful thing in the world, but it was just cool to piece it together and try to figure it out, even though it was so arduous and terrible. But
Yeah.
those were my first steps into understanding later, when I came across what the term audio engineer was like, oh, I can learn how to actually do this properly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's
You
what
don't have to
led to the,
like spend time trying to figure it out. There's
yeah,
steps and there's a skill behind it, right?
there's actually a skill behind it. You know what I mean? So that bridged everything together in my later years that led me to audio school in
You know
Arizona.
what's so interesting though? Tell me if you agree with the sentiment
Sure.
of like you can't really make mistakes when you don't know what you're doing wrong. Because
Yeah.
I had so much confidence in like mixing and mastering my first album. I would never do it now, but like, dude, it's like it's not even that bad when I look back at it. I'm like, I don't know what I did or how
Yeah.
I did it, but I knew what to do.
I think it's one of those things where it's like any skill or any trade, like you're gonna start off, you kind of have to know what not to do in order to do the correct thing. And
You're right. You're like, well, I know I don't like this.
right, right. Like if I
So
do,
I'm not gonna do that.
yeah, it's like if I mix this and I just normalized everything, it's all gonna sound like shit. So don't do that. And you literally just building blocks of it until somebody can hopefully come in and be like, oh, there's a better way to do this.
Damn,
Let me show you how to do
that's
this.
interesting.
Yeah.
Everybody's brain is just like trying to like sort out, okay, don't do that.
Yeah.
Okay, don't do that.
Absolutely. And again, having kids, like it reminds me a lot of just being a kid. When you're younger, you test the waters until someone tells you no, right? And even then, like kids will keep doing it until you tell them like no, like don't touch that. It's hot or
Yeah.
whatever the hell is. It's the same kind of system and it's the same kind of process. And I think it sparks the curiosity in the tasks that we're doing, and that to me is exciting because when it's new and you have no idea what you're doing, when you come out with something that you didn't expect, it's the most amazing thing. It's like it's just like making music. It's the magic of it. If I push a note on a key on a piano and I push enough notes, I can come up with a melody. It's same kind of sentiment is how I look at
Dude, it's interesting because I actually feel like as someone highly creative, I think drugs stunt my creativity.
it. Sure.
It's
Sure.
crazy. Yeah, because I'm
Yeah,
like
everyone's different.
I'm so much more entertained and have fun in my brain when I'm not on a drug, you know?
Yeah, everyone's different, man. Some people that's their thing. That's how they get the most out of it, and some people can do it I mean, shit, they can wake
and
up literally and just
dude,
move.
I'm not
Yeah,
even hating. It's just that I know
yeah,
that I
it's
can't
different.
be as creative, you
Sure,
know? That's
definitely.
it's crazy.
No, man,
But
self-awareness is huge.
time and a place for everything, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Feel that. Okay, so how did moving between California and Texas impact your identity and the way you relate to people in different parts of the country?
I'll definitely give El Paso and West Texas a lot of the credence for that because of the slower pace of stuff over there. Um, people are a little bit nicer than they are out here in LA. Everybody in not everybody, I shouldn't say, but most people in.
They feel a little entitled, I suppose.
Yeah, they're moving fast. You know what I mean? Like you're either in the way or
Ooh, that's a good way to put it.
yeah, you're helping them or you're in the way. And again, like if you're here and you're used to it and you know that, then it's just that's how you exist. That's part of your system. So I'm fortunate like to have that perspective, and growing up through again, through my early 20s in El Paso, like you definitely see the quality of life and the way people move when the pace of life is slower. People have just their everyday jobs, they have their families, their people are older, they retire, like they're just moving in a more mellow pace. Um, and you really start to appreciate that when you do come to a bigger city. Me coming back to here, um, it gives me the opportunity to keep that in mind when I do deal with people, and be aware of where they're coming from. Because again, in LA, like there's a lot of transplants that come from other places, big cities, small cities. So, um, you just got to try to meet people where they're at as best as you can. Um, and that's been a big influence. And even when I go back still, because I still have extended family out there, um, you still see just like the pace is almost frozen in time. And I don't mean this in a negative way, but it's out there, but it's just different. It's just a different thing. You, people drive, obviously the driving and different and interacting and all that kind of thing is just, it's completely different. And, um, yeah, I'm grateful for it
Dude,
because it just gives you that addition. It just gives you additional perspective of how things are outside of where you're at now.
I was just gonna agree on the LA part because that's the only place I've ever driven where I'm like, dude, if you don't drive aggressive, you're left behind.
Oh,
Like you gotta
oh
be
yeah,
mean. It's
yeah.
horrible.
No, you got to know where you're going and get there. Because if you tell people where you're going, if you put your signal light on, you forget it. You
Yeah.
lost.
But it's a metaphor though, dude, because if you can
Yeah,
drive there, you can drive anywhere, to be honest.
yeah. I think so. Definitely so. Definitely one of those things that's it's a refined kind of a skill that you may not have to use everywhere else, but it can come in handy. Definitely so.
Coming back here to audio engineering, was there a pivotal moment you realized it was your career path?
That's a great
Like
question.
because I don't think school
Yeah.
really, like you're discovering this might
Hmm.
be it. A lot of people drop out. I know I
Yeah.
did.
Sure. No, I mean, I dropped out of community college because I was a liberal arts major, which means I don't have a major. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So I was
Same.
very lucky. Yeah, no, I was very lucky. When I went to audio school, I will tell you the first couple of months there, I was super. Before I went to audio school, I was actually kind of like gung ho about like, I'm going to treat this differently. I'm going to go there and I'm going to be like the best student in. I'm gonna get better. I'm just going to do better than everybody in my class. Like it was a competition for me. That's how I went into it. And then I got there, and as we're doing like intros for the class, it's like, oh, this guy's been recording on a 4-track recorder since he was 8. This guy's been a drummer for since he was 3 years old. Like everybody had some sort of experience already, and I was just kind of mind blown because I thought, oh yeah, I'll come in here and I'll just kill it because I'm just gonna do good and work hard, and then reality sets in. And it's like, oh shit, like I feel like I'm so behind now. Like I don't have years of experience. I don't have
You just you compared yourself to everyone.
exactly right. That's exactly right. And it was the worst thing that I could have done. But thankfully, the
So
pivotal moment,
common, bro. That's
yeah,
such a good point. I think you need to hammer home though.
yeah, no, it definitely is. You know what I mean? And again, we do it to ourselves a lot of times. We do it to, I mean, most of the time, um, we do it to ourselves. And thankfully, in that, just getting past that, once I really got to know everybody that was in my particular class and realizing that we're all trying to learn the skill set, but we're not all doing the exact same thing. If we were all here and we were all going to LA and we were all trying to get into the same studio, different story. But you had people going to Nashville, to New York, like you had people just going out into the world. Maybe two of us were going to LA, and one guy was going to do post production and one guy was going to, like, we were all going to different places. So once I realized, like, oh, this isn't a competition, like I'm not competing with them. I just need to learn as much as I possibly can so that I can hopefully get my foot in the door, is really what ended up happening,
Nice.
thankfully.
Shit,
And
at least you're self-aware enough though, because like a
it
lot of people
took
don't even
time.
look at themselves, right? Like you could be like
Took time.
ignorant and unaware completely how you look,
Yeah,
like who knows.
absolutely. No, I'm very, and again, I attribute that to my mom. I attribute that to my mom, just remembering like what you come from and what your goals are and what you're trying to accomplish, and just put yourself in other people's shoes. Like,
So what would you have told yourself though, like in that
oh
situation, as you're
man,
feeling that anxiety and insecurity, if you could go back, because there's probably someone watching this now that's like, yo,
yeah,
someone successful like you got over that feeling, you know?
sure. I would say really, I mean, you said it yourself, like really reflect on what your goals and your aspirations are and realize that your path is really your path. Even if you're trying to do something that is exactly the same as someone else, your path and your experience is completely unique to you. Um, that's what I would think. I think I would just try to hammer home is like, don't worry about Joe, whoever, who's also trying to be the same thing. Like, focus on what really is driving you and propelling you to continue with this, right? Because the only other option is like, hey, if you don't like the way it's going, I mean, quit, do something else, but do it as quickly as you can so that you don't waste time floundering in it. Um,
True, so
it's
true.
yeah, it's like that's the one thing I think I would tell myself is like, don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Focus on just doing the what's going to hopefully impact you to the best of your ability at the time.
Yeah, the reason I'm relating is because as I have less time to do things, I'm
Yeah,
like forced to prioritize, like, well, what do you
yep,
care about? But I still like have all these projects on my plate. It doesn't change that, you know
right,
what I mean?
right. Yeah, man. No, it's always time management and prioritization is always it's a part of everything. It's a part of.
Hell yeah. Give me a tip. What's the best tip you got with
Oh
that one?
God, Adderall. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. No, don't do that. Really, man. God,
That's a good
I
one.
wish I had a better system for doing that. You know what I mean? Like I think I'm just very, very fortunate that, um,
You got a day by day mentality.
kind of, sort of. It's really kind of just I try not to worry too much about like what's too far ahead because it hasn't happened yet. I'm like anybody else, I dwell on poor decisions or dumb shit that I could have done better after the fact, but really you do have to take it just in the moments that you get, and hopefully it's something that I teach my kids and anybody that I
That's how
care
you
about.
manage stress, though, you know? That's a
Yeah,
good way.
absolutely. It's just like, hey, make the best decision you possibly can with the information available, and then adjust after that, because that's really all you can do at the end of it. So yeah.
In terms of audio engineering, how's the industry evolved since you began
Oh
personally?
man, it's involved like tremendously. And again, I'm 15 plus years out of the audio portion of school, and I mean, just in the past few years, it seems like everything has accelerated so fast. Just, I mean, ever since you got an iPhone, you got a supercomputer in your pocket. Um, that's
I I imagine, dude, you probably feel a little intimidated, like all these
oh
plugins coming out. I have
oh
to keep
God.
up with new shit. Like,
Interestingly enough, I'm lucky. Like, because I'm older, I do my best to just stay in tune with what is current and what people are using. I have great friends that are audio engineers currently, like that is their day to day, and I rely.
it probably finds you too, right?
Definitely so. I'm lucky. Like um, all of that training and learning that in school for audio has really stuck with me, and it's really been the foundation for everything that I'm able to do now in speaking the language and in my day to day in the studio. But I have amazing peers and friends that like they're on it every single day. So if there's a plugin that pops up and it's the new thing, if it's the gold clip of the day, like they can clue me into it, and like I understand what they're doing with it and how it works and what they love about it and what they don't, and it just changes with the time. But yeah, it's so exciting. I mean, when I was going to audio school, we still had paper notes in a binder. Wasn't any PDF.
Damn.
It wasn't digital notes. We didn't have
Shit.
PDFs. Like you literally had a big ass binder full of actual paper notes that
Wow.
that's one little thing. So I think it's a it's a blessing, and it's I don't want to say a curse, but it's a balance, right? Like you have so much available to you, but you have to sift through the things that are applicable and that are really really helpful. There's just so much information out there. Not all of it is applicable.
I'll
Um,
give you one positive. I've used AI.
yeah.
So when I've heard mixes back from an engineer, I'll be
Mm,
like describing the AI, hey, this is what it's sounding like. What is the proper way that I should tell an audio engineer? Like, and what is the tool he would use? So it's like
right.
super specific. Try
Yeah.
using this low pass, whatever
Sure.
filter, plugin. That's crazy though, because otherwise he might be like, dude, you have no idea to even describe it. But it's like step by step. Here
Yeah.
it is, and not that. It's just like logging the timestamp, dude. You can just
Yeah.
talk to it out loud.
Yeah.
I can send you back your revisions within 5 or 10 minutes, and you can probably think of other tools than what I'm giving you like immediately,
Sure.
like if you're actually experienced. So it's just making me think workflow efficiency. It's not
Hmm.
really doing it for you
Yep.
yet. Hopefully not.
Yeah.
Hopefully it won't do it.
Yeah. No, definitely. So I use it. I use AI in the same way. Like I use AI like a personal assistant to bounce stupid questions off of. It's just like,
For sure.
how can I better word this, or how do I rephrase, or how do I
Yep.
explain something that this is how I would say it, but how does this actually make sense to tell
Yep.
so and so person? And
Yep.
it's really great for that, I think. And there's a whole conversation about AI, but I think if you're using it in the way that you mentioned, where if you're helping it to refine how to better communicate with people
Right.
um, who don't do what you do and vice versa, that's an
Right.
amazing way to use it. If I want to talk to somebody
Think
who's going
about
to
how
fix,
many industries, some
oh
industry you
man,
don't know about. Yeah.
absolutely, and to be able to like understand, like, oh hey, I'm going to go to the mechanic, they're going to do X, Y, and Z. What does that mean? Explain that to me like I'm 5 years old. What are they going to do
Yep.
to my car? Like,
Or a doctor, right? Like,
oh
yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
all those things. Like I think those are good ways to bridge the gap. It's like communication and understanding. Because if you don't know that, or if you don't, like you said, if you don't speak that language, somebody could tell you anything, and it's just like, oh, okay, that sounds right. Like you know what you're doing. You
Yep.
seem like an expert, and could be full of shit. You
This
have no
is,
idea.
bro, this is where I'm hopeful that like we'll learn our rights and become a little more knowledgeable with like,
Yes.
yeah, defending ourselves. You know what I
Hopefully
mean?
so. Hopefully so. I'm with you on that for sure.
Hell
Definitely
yeah.
so.
So, what are some essential skills that were critical to your success when
Mm.
starting out, and how have they changed over time?
Oh, that's a great question. Definitely what they call nowadays soft skills, right? Which is yeah, because like all the technical stuff that I was very, very fortunate to learn at school, like not much has changed in terms of the fundamentals of it. And I think a lot of industries are like that. But I was really fortunate since I went to audio school in my early 20s. Like I took speech classes when I was going to college to get over being, having stage fright or shy, or working on
Nice.
my communication skills. And that's been super helpful.
I think that's important too. Hell
It,
yeah.
it's super important, you know what I mean? Because we definitely exist in a time where if you don't want to talk to somebody directly, there's so many ways that you can do it indirectly. His text message, email, DM. Like you can talk to people without like really,
For
having
sure.
to see their face to face response.
I
And
get you. I get you.
that's definitely something I think that is I know for me personally has been incredibly helpful. It helps me every day now because I have to deal with clients here at the studio. I have to deal with my
I, I
team. Yeah.
I totally agree in the aspect of I hate it, don't not a people person, but I will talk to anyone. You know what I mean?
Same. I hate people personally. I
Yeah.
do. I would love to live on an island, you
I didn't
know.
want to say it like that, but I love
No, it's
it.
fine. It's totally fine, man. I'm a Gemini, so supposedly I can say like these things. No, but
You can go
no,
just play both sides, right? I think that's what they
absolutely,
say.
absolutely. No, definitely, man. Like there's been times where I've had to force myself to be better about that and be more open to the communication because a lot, obviously, for me, to my day to day, it absolutely requires it. And then in like social settings, like you don't have to be, but I'm somebody who loves to learn about other people as well, um, because I think you can always learn from, again, somebody just starting off to somebody who's been doing it their entire life. So
True.
I try to make it a point to refine it and build it up that way, and just do my best to hone in on that. So communication, dealing with people, dealing with personalities, trying to understand where people are coming from, um, all of those things. Because a lot of times when you're rigid in what your stance is, whether you're right or wrong, there's always unless you're talking to yourself, there's always an outside perspective. You're always, you're dealing with
You
a
said,
customer or something, or yeah,
yeah, you said dealing with personalities. So, as
yeah,
running operations, give me some
yeah.
examples. You don't gotta be specific, but like, what is that
Sure.
like? You got to manage that.
Absolutely. Well, you know what I mean. I'm very fortunate. I have a small team of amazing people over here at the studio that help me. I don't do everything on my own. I haven't done anything on my own anywhere. So I'm very cognizant that I have to be open.
Team effort.
Team effort, 100%, right? And everybody is got life stuff going on. You've got work stuff going on. Like we're all, especially in the studio, it's really amplified because it's not like your typical 9 to 5. I might see you, we might talk in the break room, and then I'm back in my little cubicle or wherever I'm at. Like here, we're around each other all the time. Um, so you're
But I see what you
definitely,
mean. So then
yeah,
when it's actually like work, it's like pretty serious because I get what you mean.
yeah. I mean, in the sense that you're dealing with personalities constantly already, because we're already here internal, and we are part of the building. We come with this place. And then when you have outside clients coming in, and you have notable artists or their management team or their A&Rs or all these pieces of their external people that we're basically providing customer service to, you want to be um, as receptive to what their needs are, because they're booking the studio. Like it's like we always use the example. It's like a hotel here. You know what I mean? Like we want you to have the
It's a good
red
way to
carpet
put it.
treatment. Yeah,
Yeah, hospitality. It's not just a
hospitality.
studio.
That's exactly right. It's hospitality. It's really what it comes down to. It just so happens that this is hospitality around the creative process, but it literally is just customer service and hospitality. So, we're finding ways as a team, as a staff, to make sure that we're, and not in each other's ways. That we're, if I have somebody that's had a shitty day and is like a little bit, slacking on one side, we can pick it up somewhere, and then after that, we have to deal with whoever's coming in and their personality and their needs and the sense of urgency that they're bringing, because they might be trying to knock something. There's a lot of stuff happening all at once. Yeah.
I always thought it was funny how a professional artist has been to like a really good studio when they know you can't find a pencil.
Sure. Sure.
like
Exactly right.
that's a different tier of person of like experience.
Yeah.
It's like it's so dumb, dude, but it's so ridiculous.
That's a
There's
great
levels
example.
to this shit.
Without a doubt, man. Without a doubt. Um, yeah, I think I answered your question, hopefully. Um, if not, you can definitely pick it apart for sure.
Not for sure. We're going into the career industry insights. So that
Cool.
was like how engineering industries evolved, essential
Mhm.
skills that were critical to success when starting out
Yeah.
and how they changed. But what's
Yeah.
one misconception that you feel people have about working with iconic artists like Dre?
Oh man. What's one misconception? You know what? Interestingly enough, I think with people of that caliber, I think the thing that I've been really fortunate to see is that when they're at that caliber, they're a lot more down to earth than you would expect. Um, And again, it depends on the environment. You know, if you meet a celebrity and they're doing press or they're out in like the general public, that you might get um, a different response. But in here, where it's really focused on that creative process, they're very down to earth and a lot more human than superhuman than you might think, but in a good way. Like, you know, there's that unfortunate saying where, you know, you don't want to meet your idols. And I think it just depends on where you meet them, really. Um, um,
Ooh.
yeah.
Bam, bam, bam. Where's that fucking button?
Where's the air horn at?
Damn, that was
That's
good, dude.
no, that's what it comes down to a lot of times. It's like,
That gives a little hope to that negative sentiment, you
oh,
know?
no, absolutely. You know what I mean? I think it's just, again, I'll probably say it a couple of times. It's just like zooming out and realizing where you're meeting people at. You know, if you see somebody and they're sitting with their family and they're eating or something, and you know, you're excited because you see this celebrity, whatever the case is, like that might be the moment where they might not be as receptive to the encounter. Um, and that sucks, right? Because it's an environment and a timing thing.
Just a
Um,
lesson, dude. Lesson learned, that's all.
yeah, lesson learned. It's just like, hey, you know, and sometimes it's the only opportunity you get. So it ends up
It's so
being
dumb, dude.
it it
Those
is what
people
it is.
suck. If you do that, you suck.
It's tough, man. Yeah, it's like it is what it is. But regardless of
There's
how
no nah, bro. There's no moment worth someone's like dignity and like interrupt. Like, get out of here. Anyways,
I agree with
biggest challenges you face
I
as
agree with
head
you
of
on that.
operations. What do
Agree.
you feel about that?
Man, the biggest challenges that I say I would face is man, that's a good question. And you know, I don't
Delegating? I would think delegating.
thank you. 100% delegating. 100% delegating because being a stubborn kind of hands-on person, like I'm very much somebody who likes to get in the mix and help when something happens, whatever, if we're trying to get a session situated or a
You
last
don't want
minute
to
thing.
micromanage. I already feel it, dude.
Definitely
I
not,
feel
because
it.
I hate being micromanaged personally. So it's like,
Yep.
obviously, I'm not going to do that, but
Yeah, yeah.
definitely
But you're like,
doling out.
I got a job. Shit has to get done. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling you.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Like that is, it's taken me a lot of time to learn how to best give direction, uh,
Shit.
give
I
it.
have no idea, by the way. I'm just trying to imagine it. Like, I don't
No, it's nothing crazy.
like I'm but I'm sure this is like a like it's like watching a player play a sport in a sense, right? Like you have to get into a groove.
Mm,
You don't just
sure.
like you don't just come into a league. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's definitely like that. It's like, I would say definitely over time because the nature of the way the studio works. There's things that are very much set in stone. Like if we're doing sessions, there's only it could be a mixing session, recording, production. Like it falls under a few different categories, and then from there it's like, oh, okay, well, what do they need? What are their requirements? Do they need an engineer? Like you kind of just reverse engineer it from what the that mission entails, so to speak. So um, after the fact, it's really just how much time do we have to prepare for it, and what do we have to change on the fly, and that's kind of just where like delegating for me. I do my best to like, oh, hey, we need to get this done. We need to get like, hey, we have certain requirements for gear we have to fulfill, or we have to have just certain things that we need to do to make sure that the session is successful. You go do this, you go do that. I'll take care of this, or where can I help? And yeah, delegating, you hit the nail on the head there. Delegating has probably been one of the toughest things to learn how best to give that information without jumping in front of people and doing it for them because you know that you can do it. Um, and letting them have the opportunity to learn how to do it or take the directives and do it and then find out, oh, okay, you know how to do that. I don't have to worry about asking you to do that again. Or watch the process and it's like, oh, you know what, if you do this, that, and this, you can speed it up by a couple of minutes or you can get faster here. um
Right. Helping them improve
Definitely.
as well. Right,
Exactly
right.
right. Exactly right, because that's what I would want for someone to tell me. It's like, hey, that took a little while, do this and this, it'll save you some time. And oh, thank you, that's perfect, that's what I want to know.
Here's a crazy one, and you can be obviously as detailed as you want. if you can just even name people, that'd be cool.
Sure.
But have you ever been a part of like sessions where you're like, oh, this is never gonna come out?
Oh man. Um, you know what? Uh, yes, definitely so. But I mean, really, you never know. Like, even in any scenario, when I was working it over at Interscope, like you had the inclination and a thought that something that somebody was working on might come out. But even then, like, just there's so much that happens behind the scenes that can really determine whether or not that happens. I've heard so many. I've been very lucky. I've heard so much amazing music um, in all different stages that will never see the light of day. Um, and I'm lucky, like I got to hear it, but that's something you want to experience with other people. You know, if somebody puts a song out, it's like, I want to know what you think about it, and I want to know what so and so thinks about it. And there's a lot of stuff that exists in a lot of different places that never gets that opportunity. So I guess the simple answer to your question is yes, I've seen a lot of that. And I think it's just the nature of part of creativity, right? Is like some art is amazing, and you know, if somebody's sculpting something incredible, they might hate it and start from scratch, and you'll never see that iteration of it again. And that's just um yeah, there's just circumstances, unless that's you personally, that will get in the way of that ever seeing the light of day. So it's an unfortunate byproduct, but I think that just happens in the process.
You don't have to go too deep into details on this one, but do you have
Sure.
any thoughts on posthumous albums, like when artists pass and they're
Mm,
exploited a little bit?
interesting. Oh man. I think I'm kind of torn on it, right? Because I was definitely there when they did, you know, a lot of the Tupac stuff. I grew up a lot on heavy on Pac influence when I was a teenager, like probably a little too much. But
I'm seeing it a lot with Juice World, and I'm like, dude, you
yes,
know,
very much so. And it's just like, man, you know, I'm torn on it because it's like, if this is one way that somebody like that has sustained their family, and and the artist in life hopefully was kind of very clear about, like, I'm providing for whoever this is going to provide for, then I think that's well intentioned. But I mean, we don't really know.
right, right. Most times, obviously,
Most times, obviously, we don't know. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, um, I think if it's done with that in mind, and it's like, hey, if you can, the so and so had kids or whatever the case, it's like, if this is one way to help sustain them, and it's done in a way that's, you know, you're not shitting on the person's um, legacy.
name, image, and likeness.
Yeah, name, image, and
Yeah.
likeness. Like, if it's in line with that, then you know, I don't want to see Prince on a cereal box or something crazy. Like, personally, um,
Yeah, I feel you, because you have to think about what they stood for. I get you. I get
sure.
you.
And hopefully, if you know, if they got that in life and they were very vocal about it, then hopefully we know what that is. But I'm very understanding that, like, again, at the end of the day, if this is a monetary, if the purpose of this is for monetary gain to sustain something, who am I to
Mhm.
say, like, oh no, you shouldn't make money off of so and so? Like, you should, you know, go get a regular job or some shit.
I,
Like,
d- I feel that too. Like if you knew your
mm,
mom's eating on that, I'm like, I got you for
absolutely,
sure,
yeah. If this is how you pay for
for
the
sure.
house and like the kids go to school and all that, like, if it is not screwing with your legacy, like, who the fuck am I to say? Like, do what you got to do.
I feel that. I
Yeah.
feel that. How do you balance the creative and logistical aspects of your role?
Oh, that's a great question, man. Um, it's very much so heavy on the logistical side, which I've grown more comfortable with and accustomed to. Um,
Man, I hate calendars.
I really do too. Trust me, I'm trying to get over that because I need time management like nobody's business. But um, again, I'm lucky the environment that I'm in, I'm really in close proximity to the creative process. So while I'm dealing with logistical stuff with me and my team, I'm fortunate that because I interact with clients that we have or people that come through on a frequent basis that I have a personal relationship with, every once in a while, I get to be, I get to come into the studio. I get to check in with people. Like it's get to be an observer and listen to what's going on. And every once in a while, if I'm lucky enough, somebody will ask me what I think or, hey, what do you hear? Like then they include you in the process, and like that is probably the biggest kind of blessing that any creative can offer you is like, hey, asking for your input on their art. So I'm really lucky. I do get both sides of it. Obviously, my day to day and my duties as a studio manager and stuff is all logistical, but um, because it's this environment, like I'm right there, close to it, and I still get to feed on that. And like I said, listen to things that are in those stages. So it keeps me excited and reminds me of why, I still do this and why I enjoy, and I'm very fortunate and grateful to have the job that I do because not every place you get that.
I'm ready for this one right here. What's a project you worked on that pushed you outside your comfort zone? How did it shape your career?
Oh man, that's a great question. Great question. I would have to say the Compton album that came out during the time of the Straight Outta Compton movie because we did that all here at the studios, and that was a couple of things happened in that regard. It was my first time being a part of the team that was around assembling a Dr. Dre project, which you don't really get a lot of chances to do. Um, I had just started with Aftermath in that first, man, yeah, that first couple, like 2, 3 years of being in the studio. So, in that initial time span, I was able to help facilitate whatever I could with that in that capacity and really learn and watch how somebody who's a master at what they do craft an album and the participation of everybody and the teamwork and the camaraderie, literally just the entire scope of like of watching an album come together but at such a notable scale. um it's one of the things that really will, it's going to stick with me for the rest of my life to, and hopefully I get to share with my kids in certain senses. But it's just like if I could go back and like capture that and relive it, like I learned so much from just being around it, trying to help facilitate things, like literally from cleaning up after, picking up food, replacing speaker components and NS10s, backing up audio files, like just everything, even to the
Damn.
mastering like portion of that. Like I personally got to see so many facets of
So
a full
it's like a
process.
music supervisor on
Oh
steroids.
man, definitely so, definitely so. Like, just imagine being a fly on the wall for your favorite artist creating an album, but you literally get to see it from the idea, the inception of the idea to the finished product. Like
Wow.
I really can't, I can't say that there aren't other opportunities because I was very fortunate to see that for Anderson Paak in certain aspects. I was around for that. Like other albums that have come out of the studio, but Compton was literally from the first time Mez and JT, the
So
initial writers, started until the mastering process. I was very fortunate to be in attendance for all of those things. Yeah,
So it's the whole idea, like you're a part of the vision, right? Like he saw you, like, hey, you can be part of this, but also you're like documenting his actual life, right? Like that's another level of like, hey, I lived this as well. It's not just like somebody making a movie, right? Like you're documenting history.
definitely so. Yeah, it's really one of those things that it's thinking about it now, like it's really surreal to have just been around like all of the things that happened from that movie to that album, start to finish. Like, um, yeah, every facet of it, just to be able to watch in yeah, in real time. Yeah,
Little
it's
little full circle. At least I saw the movie in theaters, so
yeah,
like I can actually be like, yo.
without a doubt, no. And there's a bunch of stuff on social media at some point, I think, where there's, snippets and videos of stuff that was happening here that, you know, little windows into everything that was happening at that time. And definitely for me stands out as like the one of the points where it's just like, wow, like I'm really somewhere at a space what I had never anticipated. And this is incredible. I really can't describe it in any other way than how amazing it was just to be in the building for when that was happening. Yeah, no, I'm very, very, very fortunate for that.
I feel that it's almost like outer body, right? Because you can't
Yeah.
even share that with anyone.
Yeah, I can't even like I can't really fully express just like
Especially when you say fly on the wall, right?
yeah. Yeah, man, because there was again, it took
You're like, what do I do with my hands?
exactly what do I have? I'm just standing here like where can I where am I
Just
supposed to be?
make me useful. I feel
Yeah,
you.
where am I supposed to
Hell
be?
yeah.
Like, let me know where I need to stand. I don't even really know
That
if I
is
should be
dope.
here, kind of thing. Yeah, no,
How
it's.
are we on time, by the way, dude? I'm trying to be
Oh
appreciative
no,
here of.
no, I got plenty of time. I try
All
to
right, cool,
I
cool.
section it
Just
off
making sure.
because absolutely. Thank
How,
you.
how do you ensure a smooth workflow in a high pressure studio environment?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a great question. I think the simple answer is communication. Um, communication. When you relay to whoever you're working with in those high pressure situations, like the only thing that you can do to the best of your ability is inform them what's happening so they can respond and vice versa, right? Because if you have a situation where it's like, oh, you see one person like running around back and forth, like just moving, they look like they're frantic. Everybody, it puts everybody on edge, and it's all because we're like, what the fuck? Like, what's going on? Is there a fire? Is like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and you don't always get a chance to like fully explain to everybody, like, hey, this is what's happening. I need blah 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 blah. But during that motion, if you can communicate and find the space where it's like, oh, I have to do this, like I need to get this done right now. We need to put a mic up. So and so needs to record this. Like we need to get so and so set up. Then I could better understand. Oh, okay. Well, I can help you here. I can grab you this. I know that you're going to go get a mic from the mic closet. What do you need? Like the more information, the more communication that you have, then you can adapt and hopefully again find out where you can lend a hand or really just stay out of the way. Um, so I think communication for that is really the simplest terms, the simplest answer for them.
Here's a funny story I got. So,
Let's do it.
engineer I worked with the weekend. So he would basically say that an engineer is basically also engineering the room. It's not just the
Mm,
record. Do you agree with this sentiment of, hey, if
absolutely.
Dre wants you to transform this into a gym, you're going to turn the studio into a gym in the next hour?
That's exactly right. Yeah. In I think by definition, engineering is problem solving and finding creative ways to do that. So without a doubt,
So
that's
that's a little misconception to think all you're doing is pushing buttons all
oh,
day, right? Like
absolutely.
there's so much more to the job.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would definitely get into an aggressive kind of back and forth with anybody that thinks audio engineers just hit three on Pro Tools, like Kendrick said, which is you can do. He's not wrong, but that's
It's
not
good
all it
shit.
takes. It's not all it takes. Nah, not at all. I mean, if you're a good engineer knows how to be aware of what's happening in the room, but also at the same time understanding that their specific duty and why they're there is to capture whatever the creative part of that is. Definitely that's the forefront of what they do, but they're doing so much brain work and listening and responding. And again, good engineers do a lot of that. They're multitasking internally so that they know, the mic's not distorting, but the producer over here has the cable that he needs. So they tell their assistant to get that. Like it's like flying. The terrible example I use, it's like artists and producers and all these people, they're like the astronauts on the Apollo space rocket or whatever. Audio engineers are back at the control center making sure that it doesn't blow up. You really don't think about those people. You just know that there's a bunch of them and they're sitting behind screens watching God knows what. But if any of those things go wrong, they're the guys that are going to make sure that you come out of it correctly, is really what it comes down to.
Good one. Yeah.
And I know that's kind of like, oh yeah, hey,
A little
it's
dramatic.
it's a little dramatic. It's not that life or death, but if it is, just give them more credit than you normally would, and just be respectful of that, because the same thing with a producer or a songwriter, like everybody's doing their part, and the really good ones do it and make it look easy, because it's not.
So here's a question that I'm dying to ask, and this is like
Yeah,
a hip hop lover's question here,
sure.
but also so I know I'm putting you on the spot, so we got to reiterate this is all your opinion, and you're not speaking for anybody Aftermath. This is just a question for you.
Got you.
If you had to speculate, why aren't artists on Aftermath, why aren't they bigger? What do you think in the past has been the biggest issue with maybe marketing, or
Oh
maybe that's more
man.
of a Shady Records thing? Maybe that's not Aftermath related, but what do you think in terms of like, I'm sure you know that you've had a lot of really talented artists come through the studio that you think should be bigger. So what do you think? Do you think that this is maybe more a systemic industry issue that's out of our hands? Or is this like we're not marketing them properly? What do you think? How do you defend that?
Man, that is a great
This is just
question.
your opinion, remember.
Yeah,
There's
definitely
no right
so.
answer.
There is no right answer. No, there really isn't. Jesus. It's tough, right? Because I think it's a case by case basis. Like, um, I think that might be the misconception there, is like people think, oh, so and so, whoever, um, you know, didn't put a project out. It's because X, Y, and Z. And it's like, the opinion that I can give you is just like every situation is different, and it may very well be an industry thing in one particular case, and it might be a personal thing in another case. It's like everything is very, very unique to the circumstances and the people involved. So, um, man, really the only people that could tell you directly are the people specifically who have their hands in developing what that is. And because everybody wants to put stuff out, right? Like that's the thing that I've learned even
True.
in Europe. It's like everything that people make in a perfect world, everything that you make in the studio would see the light of day, right? Everybody would put every song and every feature that they get and all the people that they put together, like everybody would get a chance to experience, and that's not the case. And again, just in my opinion, I think, um, man, to just give you like a bullshit answer, it depends on the circumstances and the people and the timing involved. It's just, yeah, I
It
guess the
sounds like it kind of
simple.
sounds like one of those things where it's like, yo, if you agree to this level of work, this tier is just kind of how it operates in a sense, you know?
Somewhat,
Because it's like
somewhat.
you could just stay completely independent and really just release whatever
Sure,
you want whenever you want, right? Like
sure.
that is the solution.
That's definitely a solution in a certain aspect. Yeah, I would say so. Like, um, once you start incorporating, I guess in that case, it's kind of like personnel can start to influence the outcome of that, right? Because it is, if you can source all the music, and you record your own vocals, like you literally could make an entire project on your own, or have the resources to do it on your own, then you're absolutely more in control of what you do with that. Um, and yeah,
It's a good point, dude. This is
as
a
you
good point.
yeah, as
Gotta
you
learn. People have to learn to be able to do everything. It's crazy.
I think so. I definitely think so. I think it's a daunting and intimidating thing, but I think
It is.
the positive parts about it are that even if you try it and you suck at it, which you might, like not everybody can do everything, and that's okay. But if you understand like what a producer goes through, what a mixer goes through, what a mastering engineer goes through, what somebody that does marketing, like if you understand just even on a very, very minimal scale what those duties actually require, then hopefully you appreciate like working with somebody that does it really well. And
Yeesh.
takes that load off of your plate. That's in my opinion how you can understand like how to build a team. You know, a lot of people like I'm independent, I want to make music and I need a team, and it's like, yeah, but do you understand what a promotions person does? Do you understand what a social media person is going to do? Do you understand what a mixer does? Like, try to at the very least understand what their job requires so that um, you can try and make the process smoother. And when you do that and you work with people, and you'll develop those relationships really quickly, because it's like, oh, they're going to love working with so and so artist because he gets me good mixes, or you know, his mastered the master tracks on his album are all easy to package, or like he gives me the right album artwork. Like, you start to make the process for everybody around you smoother, they will return that energy to you, and then you just build that way, and then pretty soon you have a team. It's like,
Sounds authentic, right? You got to come authentic.
exactly right, you know, and then just
Yep.
be mindful of like the shit that people have to do. You know, a lot of people, as you talked about with the, you know, misconceptions about audio engineers, it's like people think, oh yeah, you're just gonna run Pro Tools, record me, pack it up, ship it, and put it on Spotify, and it's like, you're missing a lot of steps in there, bro. Like,
are are there any thoughts or considerations of like either Aftermath, Hitmaker ever making audio engineering kind of courses, certification, any kind of
mm,
teaching?
that's a great question. I can't speak for Aftermath specifically. I know it's definitely a goal in my mind that I would love to have happen, and we're trying to do some more educational type stuff with Hitmaker, and hopefully in the future, like right now we're focusing a lot more on independent artists specifically and working on that, but definitely audio engineers are in that conversation, producers are in that conversation, songwriters, anybody independent, any independent creative attached to music is part of what we're trying to help facilitate with the platform. We're just right now, in terms of where we're at and being early stage startup, we are definitely focusing on artists, because I mean, to be real, like if you don't have without music and without the core product from an artist, like you just have pieces of the puzzle. Not to downplay like producers and music and any of those things, but cohesively, you know, an artist is the one that you're going to be helping with to flesh out their ideas and that kind of thing. So it's something that definitely I would love to. I've talked about it to my peers like for the longest time, because to jump back to our question about technology, even though there's so much access to knowledge now, like there's still a lot to be said for mentorship. You know, shout out to Demiza for that, like driving that home.
I
Um,
feel you though. You're like, who could you find that's like gonna blow you away, that's younger than you too, right? Like what engineers upcoming that you're like, dude, what are you doing?
oh man, no, I'm lucky. Like I'm really fortunate. The guys that I've seen here come up in this system, guys and girls to be specific, um, you know, to be very inclusive. Get that experience, and I've been really fortunate to see them go from, you know, being a runner at a studio to use a clear example, runner at a studio to being head engineer. Like I've been really fortunate again to be a support and lend a hand in that development. And
You
you know,
were a runner too at one point.
oh yeah, I was an intern. I had to start it as an intern when I
Was
first started
give me
off.
the worst. Give me the worst runner story. Come on.
I'll tell you my worst runner story, which I still feel terrible about to this day.
Yes, he's got one.
I fucked up Ice Cube's food. Let me put it that way.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that's probably definitely top
Ice
tier.
Cube, we're tagging you in this one. Ice, go ahead.
I apologize. I apologize profusely, but no, I was moving too fast, and I fucked up a food order for him when he was over here at the studio, and I had to literally run because thankfully the food spot was nearby. Run back, and I they gave me the wrong bag of his food, and me stupidly, instead of
Damn.
triple
Checking right.
checking, triple checking what he got,
Damn.
I assumed they gave me the right bag, handed it to him, handed him the wrong thing, and the kicker is that all happened in front of Dre. So already
Damn.
fucking up his food was bad enough, but having him exclaim that it was the, not in a terrible way, who just like, oh no, this is the wrong thing. And I'm over here fucking scooting around in the kitchen like, bro, I just got Ice Cube some food and I did it like super fast. And it's like, oh shit, this is the wrong thing. Dre's sitting there and he's just like, oh shit, that's fucked up. And I'm dying over here. The only thing that I can do is apologize and tell him I'm so sorry. That's my mistake. Let me fix this immediately. Grabbed it, ran my ass back to the I think it was a Chinese food spot.
Threw it at him.
Oh man, I wanted to, but I had to get the other food first, so I didn't want to be a complete asshole. But no, I just told him, this is the wrong food, please. I had to, this, it was a shrimp, whatever. Okay, cool. Open it up, check it. Yeah, that's the right thing. Ran my happy ass back here. Had to tell him, I'm so sorry. I apologize. That was my mistake. It won't happen again, whatever. And thankfully enough, he, was nice enough and just was like, no, it's all good. It's going to taste better now. Don't worry about it. But I've never felt more terrible in my job because I thought I did a great job and I did a terrible job. And just by stupid luck was able to, thankfully it was an easy, quick fix. And yeah, you know what I mean? If
Can
it
you
was something
imagine
else,
if you made him mad and
oh
you're the one
man,
that melted Ice Cube?
dude, I would never, I'd be ruined on the internet forever. I'm the guy that melted Ice Cube, dog. I don't want to be that famous. You know what I mean?
Yo, what makes West Coast hip hop so distinct, and how does it continue to influence
Oh,
the broader music industry? What comes to
oh
mind when I
man.
say that? I'm thinking of like funk bass guitars, because my best friend Empraj, he's always putting a bass guitar in everything, and I'm like, dude,
Mm,
it's all I want. Just put that, and I'm in it. Give me the funk, give me
yeah,
a groove.
you said it. I think for me specifically, and again, I'm biased. I did grow up on the West Coast and the Southwest. Like I've had huge influence from that, but I'm very aware that obviously hip hop was created on the East Coast, and it
Yep,
traveled. Um,
Bronx.
oh yeah, shout out to New York for hip hop, man. But I think you kind of hit it on the head. Is really like groove, right? And even though in the early stages, that wasn't like the specific thing, but over time, people like Dre and Quick and EA Ski up in the Bay, and like a lot of stuff had like fat ass bass lines. Like it was, they were sampling George Clinton and Parliament and all these just funky music. Like the groove and all that stuff was baked in from there because that was the influence. And I think that was one of the main things, personally, it's my personal opinion, that really gave it that feel. You know what I mean? Like if you were cruising, over by the PCH near the beach, like you're listening to music that you can just like ride to. It's funky, it's groovy, all that early
Damn.
funk stuff. It's just got like, you can literally sit there and nod your head to it, or you could dance to it if you wanted to. Like it's just groovy, for lack of a better kind of descriptor. Um, and I think that's something that in a good way cements it as the sound from the West Coast. And maybe right now, this is my opinion, in the current kind of day and age, maybe hinders it a little bit from expanding to certain places. Um,
Ooh, I never heard that. That's a good way to put it.
that's just the thought of mine,
I get you, but
because
when you're so identifiable that you're associated with the
sure,
sound, the region is that sound. I get you.
I think so. I think so. Just the way the Bay has that bounce to
I
all the
blame Too
stuff.
Short.
Right. Sure, man. Hey, man. When you make an impact like that, I mean, shit. What else is gonna happen, right?
Still relevant. I can't hate.
For sure, dude. 40, everybody. Mac Dre,
Yeah.
bro.
Yep.
All those things. I think that's what to me is reminiscent of how distinct it is, and everything that's followed since still has, um, yeah, solid, just like groove and a rhythm to it that, East Coast is known for. They were sampling like party records and like disco and certain kind of things like that were being were being cut up and manipulated to make that sound, and then you get into like the grittier, raw kind of just almost like uh, I guess just raw is the best word I can way kind of sound to it. Like it wasn't even so much that it was um, groove driven as much as it was just like impactful. I mean, that's why it's called boom bap, right? It was like kick snare, like it was just anchored by raw, um, almost power of the music. Public Enemy and things like that that were um, just impactful. The music was like in your face. Um, it got the point across where, I mean, you could tell on the West Coast there's probably a lot. There's a lot of heavy weed smoke influence. It's like, what do you listen to? Something to groove to, something to chill to,
For sure, for sure.
that kind of thing. So that's I think is what stands out to me. And you know, there's those influences here and there. And nowadays, I think there's a mixture of so much, but um, there's very specific things that when you hear them or when you listen to them, they're reminiscent of, like you said, a regional thing. Just that's just the way we've been
I'd even argue the
trained.
patterns too, right? Some certain
Yeah,
drum patterns are totally
exactly.
like West Coast. That's crazy.
Absolutely. That's how we break stuff down. That's how we categorize things as humans, is like we find patterns and stuff like, oh, that's that pattern. This is the South, trap, like, yeah, that kind of thing.
Speaking of that, are there any Southern hip hop that you think are underappreciated? Any elements?
Oh man, a lot. Like I know Atlanta is very much, man, the cornerstone of a lot of stuff that's current right now. I would say,
Hi
personally
hats, bro.
speaking,
Hi hats.
hi-hats, man. Hi-hats and 808s. A lot of like the Houston, Swisher House, Rap a Lot, DJ Screw. I think that Southern South sound, excuse me,
Man,
is not so much underappreciated, but I think there's definitely more. Um,
I hate to say this.
yeah, go ahead.
I feel like it peaked with Chameleon Air.
Oh wow,
That's the
interesting,
problem.
interesting. I would disagree with you, but I do know what you mean. Because the time the Chameleon Air came out, um, Paul, like I think that's slowly when the attention shifted more towards like the Southeast and Atlanta. Again, that's my,
True. No, that's totally true, dude. You're
forgive me if
talking Walk It
I'm
Out. You're talking about Walk It Out
right,
was coming up.
right.
Hell yeah. And music was catching 2 or 3 years late at the time. I remember that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I was so behind to UGK and all those kind of sounds and uh I know for me that's probably one of the few things that I think, in my personal
Yeah,
opinion,
we didn't even know Soldier Boy was coming. That was
sure.
on the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, for sure, for sure.
Internet.
Exactly right. Yeah, and then it all shifted to further southeast in the way that I remember it, anyways. But yeah,
For sure. And
yeah, that's a
I'm
great question.
flashing back to like early iPod days when I'm talking Chameleon Air. That's the only reason I know that, because I'm like snatching my brother's iPod, like going through songs.
Sure, agreed, absolutely.
How do you think regional sounds in hip hop are evolving in the era of streaming?
Oh, that is a great question. Man, this is gonna sound terrible, but I don't know if they're fully evolving in. Damn, this is a tough one because again, I think like a lot of people are using a lot of well, what they grow up with, what they're inspired by, or what imprints on them, and a lot of times you end up making what you're used to hearing because that's what you like. So, um, and it's tough because I think the people that might be pushing the boundaries or genre bending or whatever the hell you want to call it, um, that stuff is kind of it's a little suppressed because people like what they're reminiscent of, you know. So it's like if it's a
Ooh,
trap sound.
we're getting into some deep shit here.
Yeah,
Okay, but hold up.
go ahead.
Isn't there some legal implications though? If there
Mm,
are some invested interests, whether it's like
okay.
private prisons, labels,
Oof. All right.
if they're perpetuating violence in music, isn't that
Mm.
kind of like there's an incentive, you know, to perpetuate and keep the economy, socioeconomic? There's a lot of things
Ooh, I
that
see.
come into play here. It gets kind of dark.
I got you. Okay, so we're talking about like the actual content of the
Yeah,
sound
yeah,
we're
yeah. I'm
talking
I'm
about.
saying
Mm.
it sounds like what's encouraged to be perpetuated, like it's not
Mm.
really our choice, to be completely honest. Like I get what you're saying, but
Okay.
it's also forced and pushed on us and exacerbated.
You know what? I will agree with you that um there's
Bobby
definitely
Shmurda and Takashi are what made it so blatant and obvious, where it's like, yo, there is way too much excitement about someone getting out of prison that
mm,
there is a pattern here, bro.
interesting. Um no, I would definitely agree that there's an amplification of things that are definitely more sensational, and I think it's a combination of things. You know, I think it's a combination of where we are. If we're gonna get fucking deep on it, where we are as a society, a lot of desensitization, if I'm using that word right,
Mhm.
to what we're fed, and again, unless um, you're actually seeking stuff out, we're exposed to stuff that a lot of times um yeah is being directed towards us probably more frequently than we would be aware about. Absolutely so. You know, definitely. You know, I have a teenage kid, and um he's definitely in the space where he's gravitating to a lot of the music and stuff that's going to be formative for him, and I have to do my best to make sure that I'm aware of what that is and not just allowing him to discover things. And when he does, if it seems interesting to me, like I do want to know, like, why do you gravitate to this, or how did you hear this? You know, did your buddies tell you about this? Did you
How do you
stumble?
know about O Block? How do you know about O
Right,
Block?
right. What do you know about this stuff, right?
Holding his
How?
shirt collar, bro. I feel you.
Yeah, I mean, if it gets to that point, like, it's
I'm
really,
just kidding.
what do you know about, you know, about the blood affiliation in the East Coast? Like, what is this?
You're cooking what?
Yeah, exactly. Right. What the hell? How do you know what
Yeah.
Pyrex is? That's some bullshit. Um, no, it's very much. I think, yeah, it's like a double-edged sword. You know what I mean? Like s- if you're cognizant of what the message is that you're displaying, and you know that that makes you money, it's like there's going to be people that do take advantage of that. So the creators themselves are like, well, shit. You know, if I talk about guns and drugs and cars and stealing, they're scamming people, right? Like that was a thing, or probably still is, whatever the fuck. And people are paying me to say that. I'm gonna tell them what they're paying me for. Definitely
Yep.
that. And then I definitely think that there's other instances where you have people that are going to capitalize off of that as well, reinforcing that, you know, hey, this album about, like, you know, settling down or stepping away from the bullshit didn't really do that well. Can you go back to talking about, you know, popping up on people and doing this, that, and the other? And again, if there's dollars involved, at the end of the day, as much as I hate to say it, it's one of the realizations I've come across in life, is like people are going to do what serves them best, and that's not always the morally um uh, uh uh, I guess the morally positive decision, you know?
I get you.
Yeah.
And one of the other things is like this is more of just the exploitation aspect of what I'm saying, but new Dr. Dre
Sure.
Snoop Dogg album came out, right?
Mm-hmm,
They
mm-hmm,
didn't do a press radio run. It's not like some huge thing when we're trying to push numbers or anything like that.
mm-hmm.
But my point is, if you think of payola and that being a real thing, right?
Okay.
The fact that their numbers aren't huge is actually a sign of authenticity, that they're not, trying to sell. And it also shows,
Mm,
the situation of the actual industry, like where we're at right now, of how can these legends be doing such low stream. It's not realistic, right? Like everybody should know about it in a perfect
sure.
world, but it's really
Sure.
just a sign of the times, right? What do you think is
Mm,
really being exposed at the core level, right? Like
it's a good
the
question.
fact that they're not paying for radio, I think, is what's clear. That there's no payola happening, or else we'd
Mm,
be seeing them everywhere. That's what's
it's
crazy. It's
a
it's
good
industry
question.
practice,
It's a good question. I mean, I think we definitely exist, um, not in that specific example,
Yeah,
but um, I mean, I guess I use the Drake and the Kendrick kind of example, right? Because we're seeing that in the legal aspect of that,
for sure.
and the claims that are being made that there's always things going on behind the scenes that are us, particularly as people who look at data and look at those things, um, and have a little bit more understanding of what uh, makes up that information, versus you're just like everyday um, enthusiast, I guess. Uh,
Hmm.
there's just always so much going on behind the scenes that it's hard to pinpoint what's going on. And I think the thing that sucks is like most people kind of have a negative outlook on stuff, like regardless. I mean,
Right? They
it,
see a low number, they're like,
the,
the whack. It must be a shitty album
whatever,
immediately,
right? And
right?
then
They're
if they
just
see,
assumptions.
yeah, that's just assumptions. That's exactly right. And then if they see huge numbers, it's like, oh, this must be
Yeah,
good because it's doing huge numbers. And it's
right,
like, I
right.
think the part that people are glazing over is just like, well, what's the content of what's the actual substance of the content that you're um, listening to, or that you're being provided? Like, um, look at that more so than anything, because I mean, to put it simply, like the larger industry in terms of like that, I'm of the understanding that they're going to serve their best interests no matter what, right? And that's just the tenet of capitalism in general. It's just like we're going to build the system, and if we can control as much of the system as we can, then we will do that. Like until um,
And I would actually argue that because this whole issue of bots has become so prevalent now, that we're going to see a lot more of no marketing, so that you can see the celebrities actually exposed. These are my real authentic numbers
mm,
with nothing. Like these people
right,
really are diehard core fans, and then that'll be the new flat starting ground of like, hey, forget the million followers on whatever
sure,
platform, TikTok, doesn't matter.
sure,
Here's what I'm literally doing, and we're starting from this base number, because there's been so much inflated metrics. We don't even know about internet
right.
traffic being real anymore,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Like forget the
for sure.
music and as one, but like just try to get someone on Google to watch your video. You don't even know if it's real, for
Yeah,
one.
yeah. No, there's a lot of that, and I think interestingly, and a lot of people are starting to get educated on how that looks. So when they see some of the stuff, that hopefully they can formulate a better opinion.
Discernment.
Discernment.
Yeah,
That's
discernment. Yeah.
that's the word. Discernment for sure. But that takes education, and it takes willingness to understand what that process is like. Because I think, again, we're in an interesting time, like with AI and all these things. We're in the beginning stages, excuse me, of seeing a lot of that happening, and there's definitely a uh, communities of people that are very heavily anti those kind of things, because I mean, shit, if we're talking about it right now, I think Meta just got in trouble for creating AI profile pages, or Instagram,
Oh shit.
and then they pulled them because people were like, "What the fuck is this? Like, why are you guys creating fake profiles when there's real people that are on the platform? Like, what's the so?" You have
They need their numbers up for investors. Watch. Here it comes.
quite possibly, right? Like that's the thing. Like behind the scenes, like you don't really know what they're trying to do, but they're testing the limits of what it is. So there's definitely,
E. So
you know,
right, dude. Even with music, I can see it coming where it's like, hey, as long
everything,
as
man.
they like the way it sounds, they don't care it's AI, they're gonna make money on it, right?
That's pretty much, in my opinion, what it breaks down to. Because again, attention is the currency, and monetizing attention is really what it comes down to. And I think the basic foundation of that is data. Is really what it is. It doesn't sound sexy when you say it, but that's
It's
literally what it is. It's just like, well, we need a
wow.
bunch of eyes on this particular thing because we can convert eyes into paid customers. Like, in my opinion, like looking at it when I think about it more and more, it's really just breaks down to advertising, right? It's like I was using this example with somebody the other day. It's like McDonald's has how many stores all over the world. They make God knows how much a day, but they still have billboards. They still put out commercials. They're still blasting you with advertisements. Why? Like you would think they kind of have people that already know McDonald's is McDonald's. Why would they? It's kind of like, wouldn't they wouldn't they save their money on advertising? Like everybody knows what McDonald's has or does,
Good
but
point.
they still hit you over the head with it because you might be in that one. You might never eat McDonald's ever in your life, and then there's one moment you're watching a God knows what, and an ad for McDonald's pops up, and it's like, oh shit, maybe I should try a McRib. Fuck it, right? Why not? Hey, right? Like there's still the possibility that you can capitalize on that split second of attention. So if you can do that on a massive scale, then I mean, that's how it looks like to me. It's just like we need more eyes to be able to convert that to actual engagement or customers. And then on the, in addition to that, supplementally or conversely, whatever, we need that to present to people that are investing to have
Yeah,
more
yeah,
funding to like build out these
for
things.
sure.
There's just so many parts
For
of the
sure.
puzzle. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
a lot.
you're
Lot.
honestly just making me think of it's gonna be like day to day though. It's gonna be faster. It's gonna be like,
Yep.
hey, today's the freaking deal of the day, and then they'll have that data so much faster to know what
So
we
much
like.
faster, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
these people that live here that are this age, like
Yes.
buy a Big Mac on 5 o'clock
Yes.
after work. Blah blah. That's what else can you sell them? Like, oh, hey, there's a Big Mac and God knows what.
No.
It's behavior is how
And
it
you know
breaks
what's
down to me.
fucked? The worst part about that is we'll give them that data for like free food.
For we already do, man. Like if you think about it, like I hate to bring it up because sometimes people forget about it or don't think about it. But like if you go, what's the biggest grocery store that you guys have where you're at?
Like HEB, Walmart, something like that. Yeah.
Walmart. Fuck it, right? Walmart's gonna have a frequent rewards program. You give them your number, your information. You have a little fucking tag that you scan or whatever every time you shop. You've just
Make
told
us
them
your default grocer is what they want, right?
You've just told them everything that you buy for the day so that they know when you buy toothbrushes, when you buy fucking toothpaste, shampoo. You're giving them an active, literal list of your entire
Yep.
behavior every fucking time that you shop there. And then the thing for me that like is kind of funny is fucked up. It's like, but you think AI is going to replace? You're feeding the system everything that you do. If somebody wanted to clone me and literally replace me with somebody that does exactly what the fuck I do, they've got my grocery store information, medical, like they have everything.
Yep.
So is AI really the enemy, or is it just a byproduct of everything being super streamlined? And how can you start to like the only good thing is like the negative response is really finally people paying attention to like something that's actively learning from us in a full-time basis, which if you've used Siri on your fucking Apple
Yikes.
iPhone, you've been telling Siri what the fuck you've been doing. Every question that you ask it, this the same way you've been telling Google everything that you've been doing by every question you ask it, and you're building a profile on the internet to know who the fuck you are so that advertisers can sell you the exact shit that you are going to buy anyways. Like it's a fucked up feedback loop, but if you understand that that's there, you can be less fearful of it and understand, hopefully, how to maneuver in a way where you're, you know,
A
you're
little
not
more
just a,
empowered, I guess.
I guess, yeah, you're not fully a victim of it. It's just like if you understand the system
Bad.
that you're in,
So bad.
hopefully you can just be better prepared for that. And you know what? Interestingly enough, I forget the name of the gentleman, but there's a guy who, because of all that information, was wanting to figure out a way for your everyday consumer to be able to monetize that data, right? So it's
Yep.
like if I'm going to give you my shopping information, like, and you're going to feed me advertising, like maybe the advertiser should pay me something because I buy their
Yeah,
shit.
come buy it.
Or
Come buy it.
yeah, maybe there's something that we can work out. Like I'm going to buy your fucking toothpaste. Give me
That's a good
10%
idea.
off or something. Like I don't know, but that's something that
For real though, you're talking like I'll be a lifelong customer if you just
sure,
like make the
yeah,
more personal relationship, which
make
is where I think it will go eventually, to be
I
honest,
I think
with
so.
the brands.
I think
Yeah.
so, and I think that's just, again, we're in this slope of them getting that information. We're giving them that data because we've been doing it, and they're trying to figure out how that works. But at the same time, hopefully, there's pockets of people that are like, well, I don't want to just give everything away to you. Like, how can we make it a more symbiotic relationship? Um, and again, I think that like with evolution, that does take time, and it's going to be younger generations that hopefully have more knowledge that are like, oh no, fuck this. I'm going to start a company where me and all my buddies or all my family, like, if you want to know our shopping history, like, you got to pay us. Like,
Shit.
right. Or you got
Yeah.
to pay me some money and slap my face on a box of cereal. I don't know, something like there should be some exchange for um, the benefit of both. Because if you're going to advertise and sell toothpaste that I buy to somebody who looks just like me across the country, then maybe I helped because you learned that behavior from me. I don't know. There's so many fucking layers to what we can learn from that. But I think if people understand that we're, for lack of making it sound, shitty, but we're profiles and we're users and we're kinds of data on our behavior that
And
we're.
just to corroborate what you're saying,
Mhm.
this was all proven recently because Apple had to pay out like 95 million for Siri specifically listening. So
Yes.
you're not just pulling that out of your ass. Like this has
Yeah.
actually happened. And
No,
and if it's 95 million, who knows how much they actually made? Just saying.
man, that's the thing too. Is like once people start figuring out, like, you made X amount of money off of my
Yep.
shopping habits. Like, wait a minute.
Yep.
This is, I'm on the wrong.
And then what they're going to do is buy those companies, whether it's like the favorite place
Yep.
you want to eat at or your favorite brand, and then they're going to ruin the product because they don't need you having all that.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
That's
literally what happens. They cut costs. Yeah.
without
So
a doubt. Man.
moving on here to barriers and challenges in the industry. Any advice you would give to young professionals trying to balance whether it's financial stability, creative
Mm,
fulfillment? What do you see as the biggest issues?
great question. And this is something that I've learned, and I'm still learning to this day. But there's a couple things I tell my kids and the younger people in my family that I love, and I want to give them a best foot forward. Is there's really just a couple things in life. Number one is don't be an asshole. So that's a personal thing, right? Um, don't be an asshole. Treat people how you want to be treated. And then after that, if you can, to the best of your ability, if you can stay out of debt as much as possible or minimize the debt that you put yourself into, then you give yourself a better opportunity to make better decisions. Because um, debt, to me personally, like financial literacy, financial stability, um, is I think, one of the first places that you can kind of build yourself um, an opportunity to go after things that you want to chase from a better place. And I know that didn't make any sense, but
No, I
in
know what you're
essence,
saying. It's
go
hard to
ahead.
build when you have nothing.
Yes, absolutely so, right? But if you're just starting off, interestingly enough, like if you're younger and you can get a job at a grocery store or the Starbucks or something, right? Like if you have an opportunity to start earning money to the best of your ability, learn how to what you can do with the money that you start making. Because I mean, shit. Like I look at it, and again, I have a teenager who at some point might want to explore college. That costs money depending on where he wants to go, and that is the first pitfall where I'm not anti-education, but I am anti giving away a portion of your time,
Anti throwing money away.
anti throwing money away, or anti getting into debt to learn something that may or may not pan out to get you that, as businesses like to call it, that ROI. Like, what's the ROI on your degree
Feel
plan?
that.
As
I
shitty
feel that.
as it is to put it into that perspective, I want people to think about that, because the dream that we get sold, especially like my generation, is like, oh, okay, you come out of school, you go to college, you get a degree, you get a job, you have a good job, you get married, you have some kids, whatever, whatever. There's this boilerplate kind of pathway for everyone. The parts they leave out is like, okay, well, what is the cost of you going to that college to get a degree and working a job that, and I hate to use this as an example, but teachers are severely underpaid, right? But you ideally have to have a degree to go be a teacher. So if a degree to become a teacher costs you, I don't know, 200 grand, it's a whatever made up number, but, and then you go and you be a teacher, how long is it going to take you to make
Yeah.
200 grand
Just
plus
to get out of
interest,
debt. Yep.
just to get out of debt to do something that you were hopefully passionate about, but now you're,
Alternative career paths is what I think you're trying to get at, right?
for the most part, right?
Like there's got to be another way to do what you want to do for a more efficient, cheaper
Absolutely.
way.
Yeah,
I get you.
and a lot of times we get we get pigeonholed into decisions that we have to make based on our financial constraints, right? So if I have a car payment, if I have a student loan bill, I'm gonna work at Starbucks probably as long as I possibly can, because I have to pay for this shit now. And I may not, take 6 months to go learn a skill to go get a better job, because these bills are going to come every month. Like, unless I'm very good at saving, or I have, people that are willing to help me shoulder that burden, then most of us don't have fucking 1 or even 3 months worth to chase a different opportunity that hopefully will net us a better result. You get hamstrung, or whatever the word is, like, because you have the debt holding you back, and you can only make decisions from, well, shit, I gotta pay $200 for my car, and doesn't matter how I'll work a shitty job because I gotta make my car payment, and the cycle continues, unfortunately.
Would you say that a good example for audio engineering would be just getting hands-on experience in the studio? Like
Yes,
you don't have to go to school for something like that, right? Like you're like, I'm sat in on sessions. I've maybe
absolutely.
you even documented like what you did
Yeah.
to a mix specifically,
Yeah, nowadays for audio engineering, and again, like, everybody is different. Not everybody um not everybody can learn from like that apprenticeship style of learning, but you really can in terms of the technical aspects of this. Like, I don't mean to downplay it for anybody, but you really can. I mean, shit, you can ask ChatGPT right now, like, hey, can you teach me Pro Tools? And
Yeah, yeah.
it'll spit out enough for you to like
Follow along,
follow
right?
along and get through something pretty basic, which is like, that's amazing. So I think there's definitely resources that can get you enough of a perspective on it. And if you can find a cost effective way to supplement that, I mean, shit, colleges, and you never know, like Craigslist, I think that still exists. Uh, there's people
Yeah.
out there that are willing to teach you and fill in the blanks for you, that can do it at a cost effective level. Um, and really, I say that specifically for audio engineering and like creative fields, because from my understanding, I've never been asked to show anybody my Pro Tools certification to be an audio. No one's ever asked,
It's
hey,
hilarious.
can you show
I'm
me?
still waiting.
I'm still kind of waiting for somebody to ask me for my Pro Tools 7 certification. That's how fucking long ago it was.
Dude, that's the
No,
quote of the whole pod right there.
no one's ever asked me like, "Oh, hey, are you certified in Logic? Are you certified in fucking whatever?" It's like no one's ever asked me that, right?
Love it. That's like
Thankfully.
your Eminem dropout story in a sense right there.
Sure. It's literally, "Oh, hey, do you know how to run Pro Tools?" "Yes." "Okay, do it. And if you fuck up, get out of here and we're going to get
Yeah.
someone in who actually, isn't full of shit." Um
Part of just telling the truth and you get the job. That's awesome.
That's exactly right, but the cool part about it is you can fill in as many of those gaps and as many of those blanks. Like there's Andrew Sheps and Jason Joshua's like mixed with the masters. You can literally watch him tell you his entire process, and you can learn the language and all the terminology and all that stuff that comes with
That
it.
is
And
badass to see their
it's
thought
incredible.
process
It's
in the
amazing,
while it's happening.
dude.
Because I think people don't even know like where would I even start? What am I listening for? But to
Sure.
know and you can learn. Yeah, that's great, dude. I didn't
It's
think about that.
incredible. You know what I mean? And like that, hopefully, I think that become. I hope that becomes more of a prevalent thing, because there are so many home recording people that aren't names. That's just like they have a technique that's really helpful now. You Until we're plugged in the matrix and I can fucking insert the chip in my brain and it's all there. You
Dude,
have to take the time.
every time I use Lander, I get mad as fuck because I'm like, this is not what I want.
That's
I'm like, it just
funny.
makes it bigger. Like, it's not what
We
I
were
want.
just talking about that earlier today. That's hilarious. Yeah,
Dude,
man.
it's so frustrating because, like, yeah, if you got a good mix, okay, maybe, dude, but like, it's not gonna make that shit sparkle. It's not gonna do it. It's not.
Yeah, you just might, it's like anything. You do have to train parts of you, to fully perceive what's going on, because I use the example like, there's people that don't play a lick of music, but they know what a key change sounds like. They
Mhm.
know what a bridge sounds like. They may not be able to explain it to you, but they know, oh, that's a
The
different
terminology, right,
the
right.
terminology and the specific parts of it. But we're all, as human beings, we're all perceptive, and we can pick up on the patterns of stuff, right?
Context clues. That's funny. Yeah,
Context clues. That's exactly right. Everything gives you context. It just depends on your broader understanding of what the context um, is lending itself to. So, um, yeah, no, there's to go back to the original question. I think there's ways for you to find. You can zoom out and find the broader scope of what, damn near any position. There's people on YouTube that'll tell you how to, I don't know, build an airplane or whatever the fuck, right?
yeah.
But you can literally find the start of the process and the end of the process for creating that thing. There's somebody that is literally will tell you step by step how that goes. So you can get a broad outlook on what that is. And then from there, oh, okay, you can try and fill in the blanks piece by piece. And then if you're fortunate enough and you have somebody that that will like tell you what they do, then, and you buy them coffee or some shit. That's probably the best kind of education you can get in my personal experience. Um, yeah, it's like, and everybody's different. Like some people have parents to satisfy. Their parents want to have them have an actual piece of paper that proves that they know this shit, and that's part of your experience there. But right
and
now,
then
it's
and then
out there,
some people can't handle caffeine.
and some people can't handle caffeine. That's for fucking sure. For fucking sure.
Yo,
Yeah.
what are the most significant challenges you faced in your own career, and how did you overcome them?
Oh, that's a great question, man. Oh man, I feel like that's. I feel like I'm still going through some of those, because every once in a while, like, it's very stupid, and it's like I hate the term imposter syndrome because it's not necessarily what it is, but there's definitely times where it's like, man, I feel like I could be doing more or learning more, or have I gotten too complacent in the position that I have to be ambitious about other endeavors.
Shit.
So I
That
definitely,
is deep. Ouch.
yeah, no,
A little
it's,
burden,
yeah,
little
oh,
world on your shoulders. It's no biggie.
absolutely no, man. And that's my thing.
Dude,
I mean,
at least you think about that. I feel like there's so many evil people
probably too
that don't
much.
like no, but there's so many people that run the world that don't even care about like making it better or like how they can improve it
That's true.
from their own position.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, very much so. Sadly, that's definitely the part that, yeah, you hear shit like that and you're like, damn, you literally, this fucking guy over here literally has the power to change lives, thousands, millions of lives in a fell swoop. And
Daniel Eck.
goddamn, dude, like Jeff
that's
Bezos,
a that's my jab. Now that's my
Jeff
jab for the day.
Bezos, this motherfucker, this guy. But no, definitely, um, for me, yeah, just wanting to, uh, um, and again, as you get older, I have kids, like all those things play a part where you want them to venture further than the things that you can reach. So that's something that you want to make sure you're reaching for stuff, but you also need stability and consistency. So how risky do you get? Like those are all
I
things
get
that
what you mean though, because you're like, I still got to build something that someone else has to finish, right? Like you're not
exactly.
done building. I get you.
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
you. Still trying to leave behind a legacy.
Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? And even if my legacy is like, oh, I tried to do this, that, and the other thing and it didn't pan out, I can at least tell you, hey, you may not want to try this because this this doesn't really go that far, right? And at that point, hopefully you have enough. There's enough insight there that you can make a better decision. You know, that's really
I
what I
feel
want for
that,
everybody.
dude. That still comes back to what we were saying about our parents, like
Yep,
going through what they went through so we could get here. Hell
absolutely,
yeah. I feel that
absolutely, man. No,
the
absolutely,
cycle continues.
always, man, always. And again, like I think if
Should have said marathon.
you still can.
The
Uh,
marathon continues. Hell yeah.
all day long. Yeah, man. It's 100% true. I think if you look at it in that aspect, and I guess the biggest takeaway from that is just like wanting to get better. That's I think for me, my personal goal is like, and I know not every day I get better at what I'm doing, or there's some days I just have like I procrastinate too much, and I could be productive, and I don't do it. And if you're fortunate enough to wake up again, like, okay, well, hopefully you get a chance to do this better the next time. And that could be anything. It could be home life, it could be work life, it could be just being better, being nicer to yourself, whatever the fuck
I
it
feel
means,
you.
right?
Yeah, you're making an effort just because you were thinking about what you were saying earlier, right? Like,
Just, I think,
am I doing enough, right?
exactly right. I think just the effort is the fundamental like building block there. And that's my thing. Like, I just want to be, by the time it's all said and done, from where I started to where it ended, did I try to make incremental, did I try to take incremental steps to be better, just to be a better fucking human, really, to, not to get too deep on it, but yeah, at the end of the
Yeah.
day, no one's going to remember me for this. Hopefully they remember me because I cracked a stupid joke
I
or
know we
shit like
I
that.
know we talked briefly about right now just saying Nipsey, but how do you feel like that has set us back in progress, like as a society or hip hop in general?
Mm, man, that's shit. That's a deep one, man. That's a deep one because I feel like, and again, being from the West Coast, like Kobe and Nipsey, like people that represent heights that we want to reach, not just in success, but on a personal level, um,
Man, on a community level,
on a
dude.
community level. It's like those are the most impactful things that sit with you because to lose those symbols, yeah, it can be fucking jarring because like we always have inspirations and examples that we look to of heights we want to achieve, right? That's why we measure each other's success. That's how fucking humans are. So when you find spaces or representatives of what that is, to lose that um, in really shitty ways, right? Yeah, it's
What
definitely gonna
what what bugs
imprint on
me,
you.
dude, is like it wasn't until he was gone that you appreciated that. You know, like you didn't. It
Sadly,
wasn't. It didn't become that until after.
sadly, yeah, man, and that's the thing, that it's a really good lesson on, um, yeah, basic appreciation.
Just getting your flowers
F-
while you're here, right?
Absolutely, basic appreciation for each other, like right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think the other part of that, the other layer to that as well, is just like I should be able to appreciate you, um, in the same way as somebody of that stature, right? You know what I mean? Like we definitely hold celebrity or like that level of recognition a lot higher, which I think is unfortunate, and that's um
It's a hierarchy thing, right? It's like this weird
yeah,
human nature thing. I get you.
absolutely, and which always fucks with me because it's just like, again, it's like, to get super deep on it, it's like, man, the nurse that helped you at the emergency room, like your teacher that helped your kid learn how to read or whatever the case is, like
I feel that.
just
Yep.
everyday
Hell
people
yeah.
like have an impact on the things that are important to you. Like to me, it's a reminder to just try to be kind and empathetic to people, because everybody is trying to play a role, and um the ones that are
Hell yeah,
helpers, like, fuck, man,
bruh.
like,
You
yeah,
just brought it full circle because my nonprofit's undercover superheroes, and that's what it is.
hell
You know what I mean?
yes,
The
I
people
love it.
that don't get the credit within society. You know what I mean?
Exactly right, dude. Like, we should be just thankful for people like that on a day-to-day basis, because it's like, God bless, rest in peace, the Nipsey Hustles and the Kobe's and these people that are incredible, leave an incredible impact, because of what they do. It's We should hopefully try and just keep that perspective for more people. More of us are trying to be that than not, and not everybody gets to do it or not everybody gets to get recognized at that level, but it doesn't make it any less important. So yeah, that's an initiative that I stand by 100%, because it's like, man, God bless the teachers that deal with my kids, because I couldn't homeschool them. That's for fucking sure, you know.
Yeah, feel
So
that.
for you to take
Yeah.
the time, you're literally taking the time. Your life is dedicated to formative years of some, my children. Yeah, it's a super deep thing, and we could peel away the layers of it, but it's like that's super important. So yeah, I'm going to do my best to try and be more mindful of who you are as a teacher, because um, yeah, it directly shapes my life on a day-to-day basis. So, if we were to take a little bit of that into account, I mean, it doesn't matter. People that are serving you
I
food,
mean,
it shouldn't matter who.
what's also crazy is like thinking of your own position too, right? Like that Dre aftermath. Everybody has to trust you that you would represent them as a brand just for sharing your own opinions, whether they represent them or not, right? Like you have to be
Yes,
a pretty well-rounded person, know how to speak, to know
try
not to
to.
say certain things. The whole
Sure.
reason I'm saying all that is because I'm about to preface into those few Dre questions that you can answer as short as you want. So, without getting
Let's
too
see.
specific,
Yeah, let me
how
see.
has working with Aftermath Entertainment challenged or refined your approach to audio engineering?
Oh, it's definitely refined it in the sense that,
Got all the trade secrets.
man, no, it really just reinforces that, uh, the blessing in it is being a part of something that has such a legacy to it, and wanting to do your best work because of that. Um, it's definitely something that I do my best to keep in mind, and why I try to pick my words very carefully, because even though, I'm not in charge of any of those things in terms of, like, the bigger world that exists, I'm fortunate to have a small position and role in that. So, um, I try to do my best to portray that from a professional aspect and respectful to that, because I very easily could be, somewhere else not doing that. Um, so it's very important for me and the people that I'm fortunate to work with, that we keep that in mind, because that's the greater objective that we're fortunate enough to serve. You know what I mean? And um, yeah, that's just kind of like I think I just kind of got that from my mom, in terms of like being a good steward of what you're giving and appreciating the things that you're given responsibility over. You know.
I think the quote is not biting the hand that feeds you is what you're going
Oh,
with
for
that.
sure. Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely not. Like,
Hell yeah. The
absolutely.
what's something unique about Dre's process that you think young engineers could learn from?
Something unique about his process. Man, again, speaking from my personal, and he said this in interviews multiple times. So he's let people know in interviews, and I'm only quoting what he said.
I
Uh,
got you. It's
but
nothing you can't find.
yeah, but everything is important. Um, so if it's for audio engineers, it's like just because you might be a recording engineer, or you might only mix, or you might, whatever facet of the process that you play a part in, everything is important. So the recording process of it, the pre-production process, like every aspect of it is important. So keep that in mind, and hopefully it will elicit the most attention to detail for that particular purpose. And basically, I think in simpler terms for me, when I think about it, it's just like, do your best work, right? Do your best work. Don't leave anything out. Like, kind of leave everything on the table. Like, give it your everything, um, and really just operate from that aspect. Because if you realize and understand that everything is important, then you're hopefully focusing on the things that keep it at that standard. That's how I've tried to interpret it and apply it um, to myself personally. It's just like, so there's certain parts of things that it might not be the most fun thing to do, or it's not the most exciting, but if it's a part of the process, then it's still important to that process. So always keep that
I
in
think
mind.
I think that should be reassuring for people who may feel like, man, my job's not that important. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
well, you should definitely focus on what your job is. You know?
Yeah. I mean, if you're fortunate enough to have a position that allows you the opportunity to do that,
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah. Take
yeah,
advantage of it, right? Learn
take
as
it,
much as you can.
learn as much as you can until you can pivot or transition to something that is more, um, that you feel is more exciting, and then pour your best into that. Like, I think it definitely depends on on your frame of mind and your perspective going into that. Because one of the few things I think personally is like that you can, that are only in your control, is your work ethic, your attitude, and
So true.
how you
So
apply that
true.
in situations. Those are the only things that you can control personally. How hard you work, how your attitude is when you do
And
that work,
and
and
what's crazy about that is those are the things that people can see and respond to in person. Like
yes,
that's what people are going to react to and what they see.
agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's been very. I've been very blessed in that regard um, to do my best to try and concentrate on that. Because if I concentrate on what I can't control, I'm going to drive myself crazy. So, what can I actually really focus my attention towards? And it is how hard I work, my attitude while I'm doing that, and how I apply all of those things um, in continuing forward. Because I'm the only one that can really um, shape that part of it. Everything else that happens after, I have to respond to and
Hmm.
kind of roll with. But I can absolutely 100% be conscious of how I want to approach that thing. So I think it's very key trying not to feel like, oh, I exist in a space where like I don't have any control. It's like, well, if you're in that space, then you can concentrate on
Ta
these particular things.
No, you're totally right because you're trying to say that. Well, where do you feel empowered? Take advantage of those little spaces
Yes,
that you have a chance to have an input. For
absolutely,
sure, for
absolutely,
sure.
to the best of your ability. Yeah, I think so, definitely.
So one of the other things was that I did consumer insight research for Beats headphones, right? And
Hmm.
one of the feedbacks that I gave was kind of a little harsh, but I said that we got to get away from the legacy branding aspect
Mm,
of how hard they lean into that. I feel like
sure.
consumers nowadays, they want a little bit more authentic. They want the brands to stand for something. Like they want like a crazy bold, like this is what we represent. These are the brands we endorse, that kind of thing. These are
Hmm.
the like beyond just like these are the athletes, right? And I get that we're talking about a different brand, right? But
Hmm.
my point, how do you balance the weight of working with a legacy brand while staying innovative? Do you ever find pushback? Is it hard to innovate?
Oh man. I think honestly, I can say in that particular regard, like in my day to day, um, I'm not tasked so much with innovation as I am just maintaining the standard as I understand it, if that makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's definitely like a department in terms of um, the aspect of the brand on that level that um, I'm not a key component of that specifically. So knowing that and knowing that I understand that I exist in a space where um,
You're kind of like saying you know where your role is and where you have to
yes,
kind of play it. I get you
exactly right. Yeah,
for
like
sure.
if that was my particular role, I could definitely speak more to my
Is there
approach. But
anything you would innovate? I mean, obviously it's
oh
not your role.
man,
They haven't asked you, but what would you do if you could do something?
huh?
Magic wand, bro. You got it just for
That's
one
that.
day.
That's a great question, man. Shit. Man, I'm gonna have to come back to that because I'm definitely gonna
Oh
have to.
no.
I know. I would have to really. I've never really,
I've never had the power to do anything.
not in that capacity. Like I've never. I guess
It's funny though.
I've never really wanted
See,
it in
and you
that
know what's
aspect.
crazy is that's why you have your position, bro, because you're not that type of person. I love it. I fucking love it.
No,
Like
man.
you prove my theories though, because like this is like, dude, that shit doesn't happen because you've never even imagined it. So that's why you got to entertain it.
Yeah,
You got to entertain it. You know what I mean?
yeah. Like that's no. It's definitely that's literally why it is. Like I've
Because you
never
play your
really
role though. You
dived.
don't overstep. So I mean, it
Yeah, I've
makes
never
sense. It
dived
makes
into
sense.
that. It's like if I was ever at the point where it's like, oh, hey, come into this strategy meeting and like lend us your opinion. I don't even know what I would, which way I would go because it would be dependent on a lot of circumstances and what the fuck we're talking about. Like, yeah,
I know,
there's
but
a
that's
lot
just
of
funny
layers.
because if anybody's seeing this aftermath, y'all know he needs to be in them strategy meetings.
Hey, man.
Can you
Uh,
share a lesson you've learned about
Sheesh.
mentorship from your time at Aftermath?
Yes, absolutely. It really goes back to um and I've been fortunate, like in my time, not even here, just over the course of my career, thankfully, that I've been very fortunate to develop personal relationships with the people that I've come in contact with in various levels, mostly, obviously, above me or with much more time and experience that have really good mentors, whether they think they're doing mentorship or not, do want to help people learn that are interested in it.
Those are the best ones, by the way.
Those are the best kind of people. Like they don't want to be teachers. They don't want to do this for like classes of people. But if they connect with somebody and they genuinely, have a good just person to person relationship with them, and you meet them in a way where it's like I don't want to just extract all the knowledge you have just to do these things. Like that's part of it, but I am on the flip side of that, like anybody that's taught me anything, I've also made sure to like take an interest in who they are, what they do, like what their story is. Like I don't want to just be given all the information that you have and then I go on and never fucking think about you again. And a lot of those people, if you come at it from that perspective, they're more willing to help either tell you, tell you the answers to those questions or direct you in a space where you can find that information. Like I've been very fortunate in that way. So it's not even so much specific to Aftermath. Like that's just been a consistent pattern in my life. I've been very fortunate to meet people, peers and above me. That's just like, damn, like how did you do that, or how did you learn how to do this? Whether it's engineering or it's admin, or just everyday stuff, like, and building those relationships and just sharing information. And pretty soon, it's like you're filling the blanks in for each other, and I'm listening to you, and you're venting to me, and I have a suggestion, and you have advice, and we're just building um, a collaboration, and we're mentoring each other, and we're helping each other, and everybody just kind of just grows together is really what it comes down to. So yeah, I've been really lucky that that's been a staple of what I do, and now that I'm older and I've been fortunate enough to have X amount of years in these spaces, I'm able to do the same thing for people that are able to to hit me up and ask me questions, and the same kind of conversation we're having now. If I have any bit of insight, um, I don't think that I probably need to get over the fact that I sometimes don't think I have a voice that says like um, influential, I guess. But if it helps even one person, that's hey, some young kids thinking about going to audio engineering school and they don't know where to start. If it helps you even a little bit, then that to me is worth the effort and worth the conversation. So um, yeah,
Hell
it's
yeah,
constant.
that's definitely why I've worded the questions like this to get the most
Yeah,
out of them. You know what I mean?
no, it's really good. It's really insightful, and it's really yeah, it really gets your gears turning about like you said before, like legacy. And it's definitely more so like I want to just be helpful um and be able to give insight that will help make somebody else make a better decision. Because that's what that's all I wanted is when I was coming along is just like, man, I don't know where to start, or I don't know this, like, is there
Just some
somebody?
direction. I feel you, dude.
Yeah, even a little bit, just like just a
That's
tap.
why, dude. That's why I've never taken no's as a bad thing. When people tell me no, I'm like, well,
Sure.
where am I going? Tell me another direction. Like,
Right.
what's the next best option? Oh, well, now I know
Absolutely.
something else I didn't know before, so that's better than where I was.
Yeah, exactly right. Like even if it's uh
Redirection.
redirection, like that's all of it is to your benefit if you look at it from that perspective, without a doubt.
Yeah,
Without,
there is no real failure. And I guess, like, dude,
yeah,
as soon as you get used to those
yeah,
no's and that rejection anyway, it's like you don't even care about them after that. It's like,
yep.
I've heard it 100 times. Yeah, yeah. Like, I don't care. Where's the
Yeah,
good news?
yeah, absolutely,
You get
absolutely,
over those sad rejection emails quick. But
for sure. It leads you
moving
it
on
leads
to
you in the right direction eventually.
moving on to those current industry topics. We're in the last 10, 15 minutes here.
Let's go.
Briefly going over if any of these grab your attention.
Okay.
Universal Music Group lawsuit against Believe in TuneCore. Steely and
Mm.
Clevie reggaeton lawsuit impact music genres and innovation? Question mark. And your thoughts on RIAA lawsuits against AI music services for copyright infringement. I'm
Oof,
sure they're
man.
training their models with all that data.
Oh God.
Any of that grab your attention? What's coming to mind?
Man, no, I really think it's interesting, and I've been really lucky. I've been having some recent conversations with some people, due to Hitmaker and what we're doing. That we're watching all this stuff happening in real time, and I think one of the biggest takeaways is that on that scale, right? Like when you're dealing with the Universal Music Groups and all these other big corporations, like they're all trying to figure it out just like we are down here. Um, But what they have the benefit of is like legal teams that can pursue certain outcomes. It's like I think that's the biggest kind of factor for what's going on there. And after that, like it, it sucks because there's um, a lot of those systems that are going to change because they really don't know what the solutions are. Um, and a lot of times from that scale, like I mean, shit, AI is like a big one, right? A lot of those companies are just going to swallow up AI companies because they know that that technology is new, emerging, and it's going to change things,
Yep.
but they're not thinking so far ahead about what it's going to change and whether that's for
True.
better or
It's
for worse.
just it's
It's
just right now it's AI, it's big, it's gonna make money
exactly
or something. Yeah. No
exactly right.
implications. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of like Napster and like that kind of time period when that happened. It was like,
Dog eat world out here.
yeah, it was like, hey, you're cutting into market share. There's money move. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's happening. How do we respond?
So
Throw the lawyers at it.
are are you
Yeah.
thinking music's gonna become more valuable or less valuable? Because last time this
Oh,
happened, we
great
lost
question.
value. You know, are
It's a
we
great
bringing it
question.
back?
I'm hoping that we can bring it back to a place where it's valued more. And I think we're like in the early stages of that happening. But I think the key point there, um, I guess I'll frame it like this: major music, like major label music, and corporations that exist there. I think on that aspect, they're going to lower in value on that scale because there's only so much uh, you can extract off of an artist in like a 360 deal and that capacity. Where on the flip side of that, your independent artists and the creative, they can shape their fan base or the people that want to engage with them and actually um, pay for their art or music. To put it in a simple example, they're able to find a space where I can find, if I'm an artist and I rap or whatever the case is, I can find five people that really fuck with my music, and I can charge them $20 for a sweater or whatever the case is, and I can set my price point and then get feedback from them about where that works, right? Where on that larger scale, it's just like whatever point zero zero whatever the fuck a stream is, and there's just bigger implications of why that's the payout and whatever. So I think on a scale that's really important to people that are on the independent stages of it, I think there's an opportunity to educate and show people why, or remind people why this is valuable. Um, because I think that's the only thing that technology has done. Unfortunately, is people think that because things that um, are so easily created, or they assume that it's easily created. People think that you can fucking press a
Yeah.
button in FL Studio and make an entire album.
Yep.
Um,
Auto tune. They just think you're a great singer. Album's
sure,
done.
they have this misunderstanding of it, so they don't appreciate the value of what that costs, right? This in a studio environment is a very clear example. Like, people, your average everyday fan doesn't know what a studio costs, how many hours, how many people are involved in the process
uh,
of making one fucking song.
dude, I got my first reality check when I went into a major studio, and just somebody asking for somebody to turn the speakers on. They're like, "Are you paying for the session? Do you know how much
Oh,
energy that's about to draw?" I was like,
yep,
"Oh shit."
yep.
Yeah, people don't get that part.
People don't get that part, but I think it might be we might be in the early stages of that evolution, but I think we're getting to a point where a lot of stuff that we're seeing happening, with Spotify and uh, the the back and forth about royalty rates and all that. Like, the information is starting to be disseminated to everyday people um, that something's up with the system. Like, this isn't working. Um, and they're starting to better understand that. So I think we're getting to a place where there's a growing consumer base or community of people that are like, oh well, if so and so artist is like selling a vinyl and I really want to support them because their music got me through a breakup, sure, I'll pay $50 for like a vinyl and you're gonna sign it, and like there's gonna be, I think, a surge in that happening, and that I think I'm hopeful for. And then on the flip side, in the bigger system, they're just trying to figure out who's gonna eat who, how they're gonna consolidate and merge all of that shit so that they really can just maximize the value of whatever that space that they exist in. Um, yeah, but I don't think it's going away anytime soon. But it's slowly, the
Yeah.
cracks are slowly starting to reveal themselves.
Thanks,
And
Drake. Thank you, Drake.
I mean, hey man, like shit, dude. It's no small thing for a guy
Also,
like that.
nah, well, also MLC kind of proves Spotify's been doing this for a minute. Their little
Mm.
lawsuit they got going on too. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. There's a lot of that. Again, it's like when you start getting the lawyers involved, like that's when the cracks start revealing themselves, and that's where I think
I've been like, how come I can only go back 1 year on my data, Spotify?
crazy.
Ooh.
Yeah, man. It's interesting, and again, I think is you're informing yours. If you're just an indie artist that is just getting started and you're seeing all this happening, the biggest takeaway is really just to be informed and really
That it's been
figure
like
out
this. It's been like this 100 years. Nothing new.
it's nothing new. After that, okay, what does that mean for you? Does it affect what you're trying to accomplish? Because there are still, a handful of people where it's like, oh, well, I want to get signed to a label. And that's cool. If that's what you want to do,
I just say make music because you love it, not to make money, and you'll be happy.
hopefully so. I agree, with that. And I think after that, I think the one additional nugget is just like anything. If you make art and you put it out into there's a difference between making art and keeping it in your living room, right? You can appreciate it. You can fucking say it's the greatest thing in the world, and that's beautiful.
I do that
Once you,
all the time, by the way.
yes, same. You know what I mean? Like, absolutely. Once you put it out into the world, whether you like it or not, somebody is going to assign a value to it. That could be
Yep.
monetary, it could be sentimental, but it's going to happen. So you shouldn't be
Too attached, right?
not necessarily too attached, but you shouldn't be ignorant of the fact that that's going to happen. The thing that's more important, in my opinion, is really just like you have an opportunity to you can assign value to what that is, right? And that comes by
I think
creating.
it's like a managing your expectations quote, no?
Yes, that's exactly right. Because you can assign a value to something by explaining to somebody why it's important, right? If I give you uh if I give you a photo or something, right, and I tell you, hey, can you hold on to this for me and just keep it? It's very important to me. It's a photo of my childhood home or whatever the case is. Like, I'm assigning the value of what it means to me. Now, if I share that with you, there's a better chance, hopefully, that you won't just fucking toss it in the drawer somewhere.
Yeah, I feel
There's
you.
there's that aspect, but you have to assign the value to somebody. So with art,
Interesting.
the way that you do that, in my perspective, is you tell people the story of why that is. Hey, I made this song because
Wow.
I I made
Dude,
this song
this is
because
such a
I
good
just
piece.
went. Yeah, no, I mean, that's just kind of how I determine what's important to me. So using that as an example for somebody that's putting something out into the world, it's like I want you to understand. And again, not every piece of art is going to have that, but it's like
For
I do
sure.
want you to.
But I think artists struggle with the framing of that part right there though. You just kind of
Yeah,
you help kind of have the ability to story tell, right? Like
absolutely. We all
it's a
do.
good ass point.
We all do.
That's missing. That's missing a lot. I don't understand it. Do you think it's just like the fast consumption nowadays? Like
Yeah.
We used to like see a product, buy it, consume it, and then be like, wow, this is a story here.
Without a doubt. I mean, like I think the simplest example that most people can understand is, I mean, shit, commercials and advertising, right? Everything that you see, for the most part, unless you're looking at some weird ass commercials, everything has uh, a story behind it to give you a reason why you should buy this fucking. You know what's a really good example to use it is like Apple AirPods can do hearing aid things. I don't know if you've seen this commercial, but they
Oh
have a
yeah.
guy and his daughter's playing guitar and he has a hearing disability. Like, boom, the AirPod is like a hearing aid. He can hear his daughter. It's a beautiful thing. It's like they're tugging at your emotional heart,
Yeah,
your
yeah. You
capacity,
gave them
right?
a whole sense. That's crazy.
You gave them you made them feel a thing about it, right? It's like that's what we want our art to do, but it also helps to explain to people or like help them understand, like, I was depressed when I wrote this song, this is why it sounds like this, or this is why I made this, because I just got married, I was the happiest in my life, whatever. Like, um, I think that's one way that you can hopefully assign value to stuff, because if not, somebody is going to do that based on their experience with it, and that's not a bad
So
thing, but you can
good.
inform that. Um, and if
You
you have an
just
opportunity
justified
to,
visuals.
oh, for sure, absolutely.
It's the
I
best justification right here. So that people can visually. It's
Yeah,
all just the cohesive. How do we tell this story to
exactly
get
right.
the point across? Because if you
Yeah,
don't, like you said, someone else is going to do it for you,
someone
or
will,
they may
and
misinterpret it in another way. However,
exactly right. And that is you can do stuff like that intentionally. You can put something out that's like left field or jarring, and it's like wait for someone's response. That's one way to do it. Or you can uh, go into that and just assign, like I said, assign a value to it, but share why that's the case. I always think of social media nowadays like it's just fucking, we're making our own commercials here. Like that's what IG is. Like, I'm basically showing you a commercial about why I bought a fucking wicker basket at Target or something. Like,
so true.
I literally just made a commercial because I just showed you what I do to my day to day, but it's literally advertising, right? And I know not everybody thinks of it that way, but if you understand the framing of what you're doing as an artist, I think that's where really good, or people that have teams that are able to elaborate that, can build the world out for other people. And it's like, oh, you know what? That fucking Stanley Cup is a great example. Somebody made some bullshit story about it being in a fire. This shit went crazy, and it's like it's a fucking cup. It You drink liquids out of it like a like any other cup, right? No, whatever.
Yeah,
No
I
offense to
feel
anybody
you.
who bought one. That's great.
No,
I love
it's
you love
so
it.
true though.
I love that you
But
love it,
that
but
comes. But your
literally,
point is the whole assigning value, right? Is what you're
yes,
getting at.
that's exactly what they did. They just assigned a value that, oh, this thing is the fucking greatest thing in the
Man,
world.
you really want to get deep? Coca-Cola made Santa Claus. Woo!
There you go. Now I think of polar bears and Coca Cola every Christmas. It's like,
That's the best one, dude. I mean, we got a
man,
whole like nation. We got a religion associated with that one. That's wild. All right, we're getting into the technical and
sure.
skill-based questions, so you can answer these like in one sentence, just for like best advice, so we can get through them.
Okay.
What are some technical skills every aspiring audio engineer should master today?
People skills for sure, communication, um, and really customer service. Because unless you're an audio engineer for your own shit, you're in service of somebody else's vision. So
Yeah,
keep that in
yeah.
mind. You're there to bring to capture the best of what they're doing. That's what they rely on you for. So yeah, just keep in mind that we're in the service industry, and we're in service of somebody else's vision, and you play an important part of that. So yeah, just be mindful of that for sure.
How do you approach problem solving in the studio when something doesn't go as planned?
That is a great question. When something doesn't go when something doesn't go as planned.
Fire the runner.
I mean, if it's that bad, I mean, You know, you
Messed up
got to
Ice
make,
Cube's food. I would get rid of
yeah,
that guy.
get him the fuck out of there, man. Oh shit, you just gave me PTSD all over again. But no, really, I mean,
Doesn't
if you have an opportunity to um, fix it fast and fix it to the best of your ability. Don't expect someone else to fix it for you, or basically don't wait for a reaction.
ooh, that's the good
Recognize,
one.
yeah,
That's it right there.
recognize what the problem is, and
Assume the worst.
I mean, if you have to, assume the worst, but hopefully be prepared to adjust to that as quickly as possible. And a lot of times, a lot of mistakes that happen, if they're most of the time they're fixable. Most of the time, and if they're fixable, fix them, apologize, and then get out of the way and let people continue going. They'll generally forget about them. Um,
You don't
and
got any embarrassing stories like that where you like took a take too long or you messed up at someone's take that you're like, damn,
man, no, thankfully not.
something leaked, nothing leaked the studio. You got
No,
too excited about
fuck
it.
no, absolutely not. Never, never happened.
That's
Never
the
happened.
covet code. Never breaking that one.
No way. Not at this fucking place. That's for fucking sure. That's no way. Um, no, no. Thankfully enough, like again, anything. The saving grace of that is anything that has happened that was an issue. Um, if it's been fixable and you can apologize and get it done in a timely manner, and then again, after it's done, like make sure that it never fucking happens again. If you can really do that,
Yep.
mm, you'll you can be granted some leniency after the fact. And thankfully here there haven't been too many of those situations, at least that I can recall vividly,
That
where
weren't serious, like super crazy, right? Obviously.
there weren't just like super duper just like dumb awful decisions and yeah, that I can recall. Thankfully no. Sorry, Ice Cube.
What are the best tools or software for young engineers to start learning?
Man, that's a great question. Young engineers. Um, shit, honestly, like I definitely recommend Chat GPT and AI like assistants.
That's awesome. That's hilarious.
Really, because I mean, shit. Even
Just talk to
recently,
your shit. Talk to GPT.
talk to Chat GPT, man. Like, because it has all the information from wherever the fuck they learn it. I can't speak on all that shit. But if it's there, I've asked it questions about SSLs and recording and stuff, and it's interestingly pretty close to like just getting me on a train of thought that was like, oh shit, I didn't think about that, or oh, that's what that actually does, or that's how that works. So I would lean into AI in that way to be kind of like an encyclopedia. If fucking people know what that is, right? Use it as literally. I mean, it's like having it's like having a library in your fucking pocket. Imagine, right? If there was
Yep.
anything that you wanted to
Little
know about,
little
yeah,
oracle, right?
exactly right. That's exactly right. I mean, like that's kind of how we used to look at Google, and it's like Google is like going to the library and just digging through books until you find one that's kind of in the realm of what you want to do.
Yeah,
AI,
this
that
one will
part,
this one will grab you the prompt from the book. I get you.
exactly
Hell
right.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's just amplified, so it just cuts
Damn.
down on having to do that additional legwork. So why not
For
use that?
real.
Why not use that? I mean, use that to the best of your
So
ability.
good. Now you
Yeah,
don't have to find the book. It's like it's already knows what page it's everything's on that you want to know.
exact. And you can have that shit like, hey, can you condense it into a paragraph for me? That
Yeah.
is incredible.
The fewest words, thanks.
Absolutely. Literally that. Literally that. That's how I use it all the time, I swear.
How important is adaptability when working with different artists or genres?
Oh, it's super important. Super important. Because again, you never know. It comes back to like the soft skills. You never know what someone's personality is or what their creative process is or um, what gets them in that frame of mind to be the best version of themselves. So you have to adapt to somebody who might be, they may be larger than life. Like, out in the world as an artist, and then you get in the studio or whatever, and they're an introvert, and they're very, very, very,
Relatable.
very quiet
Same.
or very to themselves, and they're very private about their process. But you have to adapt to that. Like, you can't pull teeth to get out, get things out of them. You literally have to just mold yourself to what is gonna make them the most comfortable. Again, if we're talking about audio engineering, like, you do kind of have to wear a lot of hats in terms of those relationships, especially if you're working with somebody for the very first time. You're learning each other, like, and you're trying to be mindful of what they're trying to accomplish and capture that. So adaptability is 100% everything, and I think the way that you hone that is by being around people that are just different people, being around people that you normally wouldn't be around, and just building on those social kind of skills, which might be tough for people that are introverted, but it's really the only way that you'll know how to deal with somebody who's like, again, shouldn't have caffeine. Like, how do you react to somebody like that? How do you respond to somebody like that? So, as much social interaction as you can get, I think helps.
In the moment
Yeah.
too. People skills in the moment.
Oh,
Right.
for sure. Absolutely. In the moment, absolutely. It's definitely key in, yeah, adaptability. I mean, shit, that should be like the cornerstone of stuff, because as we talked about before, like, everything that's out of your control is something is going to happen that you're not prepared for, and you got to figure it out or get out of the way so someone else can do it, and you'll know
Straight up.
where you fit.
Are there any techniques or methods you've developed over the years that have become your signature?
Mm. That's a great question. If I had to that's a question I would probably ask, my team here. Tell me what they think. I think for me, because I've had management styles in the past that I've taken bits and pieces of, but I've tried to hone in my own way. I definitely try to be, um, what's the phrase here? Rather than just like manage people, it's like be more of a leader, in the sense that, meaning that, I tell my team this, I've told my team this over the years. It's like, there isn't anything that I would ask you to do that I wouldn't do myself. So,
Ooh, okay, I know where you're
um,
going with it. You're trying to say you'll do the bottom work as well.
yeah,
Like you're not too good to do some grunt work. I get what you're getting at.
not at all. Because if that's
Every job is important.
yeah, that's definitely part of it. I think that's I guess I would say would kind of be my
Man,
um
you sound like someone who's worked some shitty jobs in your life to appreciate a good one.
oh, my first job was at a Chuck E. Cheese, and I will never step foot in a Chuck E. Cheese ever again.
The
Um
pizza's pretty good though.
it's not bad, but even then it was more so like the management style and some other bullshit. But I've definitely had my fair share of jobs that, looking back, it was just like, oh man, yeah, I should have worked somewhere else, but I was too lazy to be that ambitious or whatever the fuck.
Hell
So
yeah, but you can't appreciate a good one though until you work a bad one.
this is 100% true. 100% true. Like, you do gotta hopefully have that perspective to really know. Like, when you get one, like, oh shit, this is fucking Disneyland. Um,
Yup.
um, so definitely, I think that's it. Like, being very personal in my leadership, and, like, again, dealing with delegation, where I'm leading from a place of being an example, and yeah, being again, team effort is very specific to me. Like, I'm not a coach here. Like, even though I'm a studio manager, like, I'm not a coach of the guys that I work with and the people that I work with. I'm in there, and it's a team effort. Like, I can fill a spot or a role if I need to, if it means we get the job done, because that's literally what it comes down to. Like, what are we trying to accomplish? Trying to accomplish. I'm not going to stand here with my arms folded and watch it. If I can get in there and I can uh, lead from within the team, I would rather do lead from being on the court rather than the sideline. Then I would happily do that because I've done it before. Again, like I've started from interning to being blessed to be where I'm at now, and it's informed that process for sure to just help where I can.
Are there any clues that you know when a track is complete?
That's a good question. That's a great question.
Asking for myself.
Sure. Clues to when a track is complete. Damn.
You're like, don't touch it.
You know, I definitely think that the concept of less is more, I've started to realize more and more is I do gravitate towards that.
I think you're saying arrangement when you say that, like taking out certain elements, bringing it back in.
Sure, absolutely so. I think like you, and again, every process is different, but yeah, I mean, damn, that's like a really subjective question because that's more specific to the way I listen and I hear things. And there's sometimes where it's just like, hey, a little flourish or a little change in something does add to it. You know what I mean? So um, sometimes that's like the magic part of it. Um, I think
Wow.
if I had to really boil it down to something, if
Sounds
it's
kind of hit or miss, right? Could be hit or
yeah,
miss.
it could be hit or miss. I mean, I think ultimately, if it's your creation and it's your thing, completion is more important. Like if you listen to it and it's like when you hear it, you don't have to force yourself to add anything to it. I think you're in the ballpark, right? If you're going through a pass and it's like, oh, I need a female vocal here, I need a lead vocal, or I think I need some ad libs here. You,
I forgot ad libs. That's me all the time. Ad
yeah,
libs. Oh, yeah.
I think that process will inform it, and then once you get to a point where it's like, I don't really know if there's anything I want to add right now. I think you're kind of in that ballpark, right? Um, yeah, I would kind of. I think I would fall somewhere around those lines. It's like just get it to a point where you feel it's it's as complete as it possibly can be for the time, and then we could dive into like playing it for other people or people that you respect and all that shit. But
That's a good one. No, I like
yeah,
that one.
yeah, be
Can
happy
you
with
na-
yours. It's so important.
can you name a book, movie, or piece of music that has deeply influenced your work or outlook?
Oh, that's a really good question. Shit. I would say honestly, there's a book, How Music Got Free, by Stephen Witt. That that's probably one of the books recently. I think that really opened my
Like more
eyes to
more relevant now?
100%,
Damn.
100%. Because in as condensed as I can make it, it is a convergence of time when the people that created the MP3 created that technology. Napster was rising, and then there was a CD processing plant. I want to say in North Carolina where all of like the major label music was being pirated and going on the Napster, and then the MP3 exploded the file sharing kind of movement in technology. And it's a really good book about how all that happens. And if you read that, you can understand literally everything that's happened since that point. Yeah, so I think for me that's a book that's just like industry
Damn.
specific. They actually did like even a little mini series. I forget. I think it was on HBO or something.
It's just crazy to think like you wouldn't have thought bots would become a thing from that point,
Dude, for real. But I mean, like, well, here's the other thing. To like, if you do the research and if you look at shit, there's another. What's the name? There was this TV show on HBO that was canceled, but it was called like. It was about the music industry, but in the '70s. Fuck, I can't remember the name of it. It was called Vinyl or some shit. In any case, it spotlighted a lot of the stuff that was happening there. And if you understand part of what the music industry was going through, payola and all those kind of things, and record companies buying their own fucking vinyl records to juice up sale, like all that shit was happening. You can see how bots is very simply the evolution of the same fucking concept.
Wow.
Yeah,
Can I get an affidavit of that one?
dude, it really is. It really is. And again, it's
Is
just
it
like,
is it a TV drama with Mick Jagger, or is that something else?
no, no, it's God damn it. It's
It says the premise is the music scene in 1970s New York is still awash in sex and drugs, but rock and roll is giving its way to the punk
it
era,
might have been
disco, and hip hop.
it might have been produced by Mick Jagger, but
It's called
God,
Vinyl, but it was in 2016 a television program.
how many seasons was it on for? Because I think it only had like a season or 2 seasons or something.
Number of episode 10 episodes. Opening theme is the Sugar Daddy from Sturgill Simpson song.
That might be it. That might be it. Um, but it's a very interesting look at I think what like the
Paramount Television, Jagger Productions. Yep.
yes,
HBO. It's on HBO.
HBO. Yes, that's the one. I believe that's it. And the lead character like runs a he's like an executive record label in the 70s, and they talk about a lot of this shit that's happening. Um, I actually love the show. I don't know why they canceled it, but in any case,
Oh,
um,
Andy Warhol got a little cool.
yep,
All right.
yeah, they have some cool little cameos in there, and again, it's a play on the music industry at the time, but they do discuss a handful of those kind of concepts. And yeah, then if you just do like some basic research on um, the way records were sold back then, like how much money they made off of them, uh, how they would, the record labels would charge. I think it was like record stores for how many records they ordered, but they would over order a certain amount of records, and those would just get shoved.
Breakage. Yep.
Breakage,
Yeah.
there you go. They would get shoved in a fucking storage closet somewhere, but they still counted as sales. Like there's
Yep.
a lot of those kind of bones and stuff are out there on the internet that are readily available. And if you read about a little bit of that shit, like a lot of stuff that's happening just in the digital space, it just makes perfect fucking sense. It's like, you mean to tell me I can make a fucking streaming farm in Thailand and I can use this company to use it, which is run by that guy who I have to pay in fucking trips to what fuck? Like, politicians do it all the time. You mean to tell me that they're not going to do it in a on a scale that big to control market share? Like, be real. That's
I
Get the
know, and
fuck
if
out of here.
people are doubting it, I'd be like, all right, well, why is there more phones than people on the planet? Explain.
Exactly right. There's only so many fucking people in the world. Like, come on, man.
Yep. And there's no need for that more phones than people.
Not at all.
Any piece of
Yeah.
advice you've received early on that stuck with you throughout your whole career?
Yes. Man. Uh, um, there was a really good friend of mine, an engineer, a German engineer. This gentleman that I got to learn from at the very first studio I worked at when I was in post production, and it wasn't so much as like one specific thing that he taught me, but his approach to everything uh, was very, very German is the only way I can describe it, but very like rigid and specific to like a certain standard. And he did not deviate from that whatsoever. So that was really kind of like my first experience with somebody who took that everything is important and having a specific standard to uphold very seriously. And he was an incredible engineer. I mean, he is an incredible engineer. Um, and really, that just concept of taking your time with things, having an attention to detail, having a process. Like he had a very specific routine in the morning when he would come in and he would start his work. Like there was a way he placed his coffee. There was like, it was very rigid, but in a very, in a controlled way, because that's exactly the space that he commanded. And I got to literally just sit and watch him as I was interning because they wouldn't let me do anything, which is totally fine.
It's interesting. Makes me think like every day was the same, his routine type of thing, right?
It absolutely was. And that's really the biggest takeaway is like he was very consistent in in his process and in his routine, and even being here, excuse me, and being able to understand how somebody like a Dre works, or even other prominent artists, like that is very important. Is having the consistency and doing the repetition, and um it's what makes that process some to certain people very specific to the way they do things, and that's their formula, for lack of a better descriptor. But that was kind of the concept I learned from him. It wasn't so much, I guess, just having setting up a consistent routine and then sticking to a standard and adhering to that. And that was really, it was his standard. Like, it wasn't like a studio thing where everybody had to do that. We had some engineers that were very much more free flowing. Um, but watching him be very, very mindful of every decision that he made, really has really stuck with me. And that was probably the first entry point where it's just like everything fucking matters. So treat it like, you know,
Yeah, you're more. I bet you're more intentional, right? Right.
try to be, you know what I mean? Like, it's definitely been reinforced over the course of my career. So I'm lucky in that way to like consistent, see it at a high level like that.
What's your favorite memory of working in the studio that captures why you love what you do?
Oh man, damn. There's a lot of those. Holy shit. There's a lot of those. I'm lucky, man. Really, I mean, each of those aspects, each time that's happened, and I've had a great experience, is because I was around. It's been the people that I've been around, I think, at each of those stages. Because I mean, again, I've was here and fortunate to be around at Compton album, and the team of people that we had, from engineers to people that were coming in and out. Like, I got to see um, legends and people whose music that I listened to, and like get to interact with them personally. And then, being around when Anderson .Paak did his first two albums on Aftermath, on the label, and meeting Andre 3000 for the first time. Like, there's just little spaces in each of those time periods. I mean, I was there at Interscope when Kendrick was doing Good Kid, Mad City, uh, and then to see what that's like. Or I was a supervisor at the studio at the time those sessions were happening, so I got to hear that music before it even saw the light of day. So I have a good amount of those. It's tough to pick just one, but like each time, it's always been because I got to share the experience with some cool people that I'm still friends with to this day. So it's definitely like the personnel that that have been around, because it's like I'm not having the experience solely individually. There's other people around here, and we're just like, this is fucking cool as shit. I really can't, and only we know, because we're behind the scenes. Like, everybody else gets a different finished version of it, but like, we know exactly what it took, and who did what and all that stuff. And
I
yeah,
just
it's
think it was a badass answer because that was like as selfless as you could give. You know what I mean? You weren't like, there's this one moment I was like, impressing something. Nope, none of that.
yeah. I think
You're
I
like,
I
you're like,
wrote
it's all the
everybody's
team.
sketches for every. Yeah, exactly right. Like, I did it
You're like
for
the
just me, right?
basketball player at the end of the interview. Just like my team. Just I
It's
love my
kind of
team.
it's kind of like that. It's like, man, yeah, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my team, and yeah, my team really came. But really, that's really what it is, because
Fourth quarter, they just really came through.
exactly right, exactly right. No,
What
it's
has
really
been
what it
the
is.
most rewarding aspect of your journey so far?
Damn, it's gonna sound a little corny, but it's the same answer. The friendships and the people that I've gotten to meet and cultivate those relationships with, because we all, again, share similar memories, similar memories, excuse me, similar memories, um based on these the jobs and the stuff that we've been doing. And like, shit, there's a good 90% of those of all those people I'm still friends with. I still, um I may not talk to everybody all the time currently, but I develop those relationships with them, and we share those experiences together. So that's definitely been it. Like in any aspect, it's always the people that I've been fortunate to come in contact with and develop friendships from some. You know, sometimes you work with people and it's just a co-working relationship. That's it. You whatever. I don't know you outside of work, but thankfully my time in this industry has been very fruitful in really dope relationships and friendships and even shit, people I consider close, damn near family members from being around this for so many hours on end and yeah, just doing it for so long. Yeah, it's definitely
That
the people.
that classic question of one piece of advice you would give your younger self, what would it be?
Oh shit, save your money.
I
Save your fucking money, man. Shit, that's
like it.
definitely one. This, yeah, no,
I mean, that's a good one, dude.
no,
That's not bad.
yeah, save more money. Once you start making more money, save more money.
Well, then that's also good because my next question was, how do you define success, and how does that
Mm,
definition evolved over time? You know,
that's a
is
good
that money?
question. You know, it definitely plays a part in it. Plays a part in it for sure. Because obviously, you know, I got a family and I got people that I'm responsible for. That I am a provider for. So, you know, monetary portion of it is definitely a consideration. So, again, it kind of goes back to like the whole financial literacy, stay at like it all kind of plays into um, that topic and that discussion. Um, yeah, just be a little bit, just be a little bit more responsible, and I guess a little bit more strategic about what you're doing, because that is one of the things when I started in audio engineering. Again, like I just wanted to find a job and I just wanted to work. Like same thing. I figured if I can do a good job at some point, like the money will come, and if I'm able to sustain
I,
myself,
s-
then
I see what you mean though too, even more so because you got to be strategic, like more so
yeah,
economic wise, chances afforded, you know, like it's just
if you
more
can.
imperative than ever to like try to like make the best decision you can make. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. If you're able to, and yeah, though I think the only way you're doing that is by informing yourself so that you can make a better decision. Is really what it comes down to. So, you know, don't go into something and not understand the byproduct of it. Like it's cool. I think it's great to chase your passion and then want to get a job or career in it. But it's like
Do you
also
also
keep in mind,
understand how much work it takes, right?
yes, how much work it takes, and you know how much
Realistic, if it's realistic, like music industry. Yeah.
for sure, yeah, and how to approach it from a strategic kind of sense.
and
Yeah,
and honestly, that's not a jab at music. It's just like we're hearing even programming jobs, all the ones that people are coveted and wanting, are even
sure.
now like not as relevant in the future. But
Yeah.
not to be negative there, making predictions here next 5 or 10 years, what excites you the most about the future? Any changes you see in the music industry?
I
make a
definitely
make a prediction. What do you think?
make a prediction. I got you. I think I guess I will say that as we talked about before, um, independence in the sense of really being in control of, you know, to be specific about art. I think that is we're in the beginning stages of seeing what that's going to look like for the next 5 to 10 years. um, Everybody's waiting to see how things are going to shake out from the, you know, from the mountaintops or whatever the hell it is. But the rest of us that are trying to figure it out, like, I think it's dope because we're all starting to share information with each other about how to best do that and not relying solely on that opportunity. And because of that, people are going to be more informed about what to do if they have a viral moment or something. People are chasing that, and that's fine, that's whatever. But what do you do when that happens? So
Less likely to be taken advantage of, you would hope, in the
hopefully,
future. Yeah,
hopefully,
yeah.
yeah,
We'll be
hopefully,
educated to know. Yeah, maybe
hopefully,
that's a cool thought. You know, maybe it'll be normal for an independent to pop off, make 100,000, whatever, make some money, and then
yeah,
it's normal to
shit, yeah,
proceed as an option. You know, that
exactly
would
right.
be ideal. That'd be very ideal.
that would be the thing that I hope for, and hopefully trying to accomplish with the companies that I'm working with, is really getting people to that sense of understanding where it's like
Some
you
leverage,
really
right? Building a little leverage.
building a little leverage and having that understanding that you really can, if you're going to extract, if someone's going to extract value out of you, then you should figure out a way to do that in a way that is beneficial.
Both
um
sides.
yeah, absolutely. So like that, there's resources and there's tools that are being built that are already out there that give you that opportunity. We just got to find a way to get everybody in these communities closer to those things so we can share that information, and then continue to it may not be for the benefit of some people, but it's like for everybody that's coming up underneath, like you should share that with these people, because eventually that's going to just like, it's going to spread like a wildfire, hopefully. And then we have a position where it's like, okay, people understand what leverage is and what their power is and what they can do with that. um yeah, in general. So those are my hopes and predictions, that we really dive into that like head first, and capitalize on independence in that way.
Last question here is, what does it mean for you to be more than rich? And then if you want to promote anything,
Wow.
Hitmaker, anything to find
Sure.
you, obviously.
I appreciate it. That's a great question. To be more than rich. Oh man. Let me give you my Miss America answer.
Vote for me.
There you go. Yeah. Vote for me for student body president. I think to be more than rich means to be, I think a lot of the shit that we've been talking about tonight is like to be informed. To be more than rich means to be informed of the world as it is, but also how you how your approach is in relation to that, right? Um, that's kind of my perspective on it, and um, I think part of that involves getting around, either getting in spaces or being around people that can help you be more informed. So to fucking beat a dead horse or whatever the phrase is, like you make better decisions. That's literally what it is. The more information you have, the better decision you can make. Um, and I think that's what it means to be more than rich, because with the ability to be more informed, you can make better decisions that can lead you in a direction that's more like the way you you hopefully expect things to go, rather than kind of just waiting for something to happen and then having to adapt to that. If you're staying informed, then that knowledge is worth more than somebody handing you a sum of money, because like you don't know what the fuck to do with that. You'll probably, I mean, you probably burn through it. Look at lottery winners. Like, it's a clear example. It's just like, just because you give somebody the resources, like, doesn't mean they know what to do with it. If you know what to do with those resources, then you can prepare yourself in a much better way. Um, so I would
That's
say,
that quote. That's that quote. Just because if someone can't handle a 10,000 or $1 million, it makes you think they'll handle even more than that, right? Like,
without a doubt.
yeah, yeah. If you can't save, it's the most basic example.
Yeah, if I give you a certain amount of money and you don't know what to do with it, rather than pay your, instead of paying for your rent for a year and you fucking blow it all,
Yep,
like, it's one of those things. So I
for
think
sure.
that helps you to be more than rich, is to be more aware and more stable, I guess, in a sense. Um, but yeah, I guess opposed to that, in addition to that, like, I guess I'll promote um, hitmaker.com for sure for any independent artist. We're working with Demiza, a friend of ours, as you know, to help
Mhm.
really build out this ecosystem, and help people with a lot of the stuff that we were talking about, even though it was more specific to me, but helping independent artists find a way to create that leverage and build their build an environment for themselves to be able to capitalize on their independence, and be um you know a, have an advantage kind of going out into the world, instead of just like a lot of people or a lot of artists like know that you can make music and then you can dump it on Spotify and that's it, like it's just out there. We want to do our best to help those creatives understand that we can help you through the process so that you can fully own that space and understand what that is. If you want to put your music on the Spotify's and all that, by all means, but if you really capitalize on what you're doing and have more control of what that is, we're here to try to lend a hand with that. So that's what we're doing with hitmaker.com. And anybody that has any questions, like, you can look me up on Instagram. I don't know if we're doing all that, but
Hell yeah, I'll put all the links in the bio. I got you.
yeah, appreciate it. But yeah, I'd be happy to try and follow up with any questions. You know, I know I get a little sidetracked by stuff, but if I can lend a hand to anybody in whatever capacity, I would happy to do so. You know, if you just bear with me and give me a little bit of patience, I will do my absolute best. But yeah, man, thank you for the opportunity. I think we had a really good conversation. It's
For
a
sure.
lot of
No,
great
this is
questions. Thank you.
totally amazing. That's probably my most insightful industry one here too. And I mean, this is up there with the Demiza podcast. You just gotta
Oh man,
get more information out on the industry.
yeah,
Also, I know you said that this is like your personal experience, but I feel like this is kind of ties into how it doesn't really matter your background or where you come from, right? Like, you're an example of like anybody can do it. Doesn't matter your
true,
circumstance, where you come from. So
true.
that's the importance of getting your personal background and all that details where you come from. But I appreciate this.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's stay in touch. And if you need anything else with this, I will keep you updated when this is out. So
Sounds
appreciate it.
good, man. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for taking the time in the night to hang out.
No, this was fun, dude. Hell yeah. This will be out soon. I'll let you know.
Appreciate it.